Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Collegiate iRacing League, where tonight we're going to bring you a completely different experience for the College Cup Series. The Ignition Zone pre-race show, the ultimate pre-race experience for the CIL College Cup Series. And we're about to ignite your passion for speed, power, and adrenaline-fueled action. We're here to relive the pulse-pounding moments from last race and last season, where inches made all the difference and speed and strategy collided on the asphalt background. I'm your host for tonight, Zach Lindler, alongside Alex Gagnon in the booth, and a brand new production team, Christian Hill, John Dinkle, and Keith Brubaker running the show tonight. Alex, this is it. This is the new CIL season. Everything in the past is in the past. It's time for a clean slate for a lot of our returning drivers, and we've got a lot of fresh new faces joining the league as well, and I am so ready to start this season.
It's going to be a great one. For some reason, it seems like my camera's a little laggy, but you know what? That's probably on me for having probably the cheapest webcam I could find. I'll work on that one. But, you know, it is finally time for the Fall College Cup Series season. Zach, I'm so excited, man. It's been simultaneously a really long break from the spring, but also with the Gen 4 summer season. It feels like we were just here a couple of weeks ago wrapping that one up, so always something to do here in the CIL, but we're back in the next gens tonight here at Daytona International Speedway for the Daytona 250, 100 laps around this historic venue. I'm so pumped for it.
Yeah, I think everybody is, especially for you at home. Again, the brand new Ignition experience, our pre-race show, a brand new broadcasting team, all new graphics, on top of a field of new drivers, new schools, a completely new schedule this time around for the College Cup Series. New all the way around. This is going to be an incredible season, and I think it's going to be one of our most exciting so far. And Alex, also a little different coming into the season. We have so many champions among the ranks in tonight's lineup as well. Of course, we have our reigning next-gen College Cup Series champion, Jared Kaler in UNC Charlotte, returning to us. But over the summer, we took a little break from the next-gen and went back in time. We had a throwback College Cup Series with the Gen 4 car that iRacing just released a few months ago, where Andrew Williams and Clemson University walked away with that championship in pretty dominant fashion in the final race of the season. So Drew Williams, the throwback champion, and Jared Kaler, the next-gen champion, they're going to go head-to-head track all season. And I'm looking forward to those battles between those two drivers, Clemson and UNC Charlotte.
A battle as old as time in the CIL, those two universities, hailing from not too far down the road from each other, all things considered, when you look at the grand scheme of the CIL. But not only do we have the two previous champions from the College Cup Series, we also have just a lot of previous race winners, including the last two drivers to win a CIL race at Daytona. In Season 8, it was Zach DeWale over the summer getting it done in the Gen 4 car, and then back in the spring in these next gens, Jason Wallet with his first career CIL victory off the last corner to win the season opener there. It should be a really fun one. Fun fact, and the 3 times the CIL has visited the Daytona Superspeedway, each one of those races has ended with a pass on the final corner of the last lap of the race. I have a feeling we could definitely see that again here tonight, and that is just going to keep the intensity ratcheted up to 11 the entire evening.
Oh, without a doubt. Daytona, Talladega, and even as we saw last week at Atlanta Superspeedway, the race is not over until you get to the checkered flag. Like you said, pass on the last lap. The racing at these super speedways is so intense, it's so close, it's so dramatic that you've got to keep it. You got to keep going until it's over. You're not going to be able to kind of lift and coast for the last couple laps, really take in that you're about to win the race, pedal to the metal, everything left out there on the track. And that's twice now that Jason Wallet has been able to do that. Like you said, he's the Daytona 250 champ. From back in the spring, he won that race in his first ever CIL official start, which I think is something that nobody really expected from that rookie driver. And then he did it again this summer in the Throwback Cup Series. So if there's anybody to be really, really scared of out there on track, or somebody that you want to work with in the draft, it's going to be that 76 Drexel machine of Jason Wallet.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely shown that he knows how to get it done here, but we have so many different drivers who have already talked about how they're going to work with each other tonight, I'm sure. I mean, definitely you work with your own teammates from your own university, but there's a lot of cross university teams I'm sure we'll see tonight as well. I know historically there's a couple drivers from St. Clair College who not only work with each other, but also work with the Clemson folks, who work with some of the UNC Charlotte folks. I know some of the big rivals between Indiana and Purdue tend to find themselves teammates here at these super speedway
Hmm.
races as well. So all sorts of opportunities to group up, and definitely toward the end of the race, your help is going to be wherever you can find it. You might end up with just whatever team is in front of you at that point in
Hmm.
time. You just say, "All right, everyone, file in line, push, and let's see what happens."
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what happens. You take the race to find who your drafting buddies are. You find out who's good at pushing you, who you're good at pushing, and then maybe not so much. And you try to link up with them at the end. So we'll see a lot of the bigger schools working with each other towards the end of the race and in the middle part just to get to the end. But like you said, we're going to see a lot of college rivals and even driver rivals link up possibly during the race to work together. But before we get into the race, we're going to go ahead and take a minute and interview our summer 2023 Garage Shop Throwback College Cup Series champion from Clemson University, hoisting his first title in the CIL, Andrew Williams. Again, congratulations on your title. You've had about a month for it to set in and to practice and get ready for this season. So I want to know, what's the mentality going into Daytona, the biggest, hardest race of the season, with that huge head of steam and momentum on your side?
Well, I mean, you said it right. It's the biggest race and it's the hardest race. The goal here for tonight's definitely just gonna be getting it to the end. Usually at these super speedway tracks, you see one or two of the big guys fumble and get caught up in wrecks and have really bad points days. And I just need a good night here. Don't need a win. Don't need even a top five. Just a hoping for a quiet day to cruise home. If the broadcast never sees me all night, that's probably a good thing. I just wanna get some quiet points here and try and start another championship run.
You know, quiet and Daytona aren't often used in the same sentence there, Drew. So I appreciate the idea behind it, but I will say, what is the strategy for that to even be possible? I mean, normally carnage finds you whether you like it or not here at the super speedway. Do you have a plan to try and stay out of the chaos, or is it just going to be pray it doesn't happen near you?
It's a little bit of both. I do have a bit of a plan. I'd like to run up front if possible. I find I'm pretty solid at the super speedway quali. If I can get up front early and stay ahead of the chaos, that'll be good. Otherwise, you won't see me hanging around in the mid pack. I'm either dropping to the back or I'm running up front. I don't want to be caught because I usually find those P15, P25 guys. They always get caught in the worst wreck. So just gonna try and find somewhere outside the danger zone to run, whether it's front or back.
Yeah, we often hear about the danger zone, especially outside of those first five rows and towards the middle of the pack. That's where a lot of the shifting is. But we see that Clemson University is coming in with almost a completely fresh new driver lineup. Obviously, you've got your heavy hitters yourself, Drew Williams, and Nick Stockner coming back. But you've also got some new rookies in the field from Clemson. Do you think you're going to try to work with them to show them the ropes of the CIL, or work with them and try to push for the lead early on in this race?
Of course, we've got. I believe we've got the most cars in the field. If not, Penn College might have one or two more. We've got a big group, so we're if we can get lined up, then yeah, I might throw the quiet strategy out the window and make a charge. I've been talking to Jake Hall a good bit. He's a quick guy. I think people are not quite ready to see Clemson with a few more quick cars. Um, and Stockner and Burrow have been waiting for a time to shine for a while. So I think if we can get grouped together, Clemson's got a good shot tonight.
And Drew, I've got one more question for you. You got a teammate in front of you. You're coming down the front stretch to win the Daytona 250. Do you push your teammate to the win, or do you try to take it for yourself?
I only have two cup wins to my name. It was enough for a title, but there's something special about winning at Daytona, and especially winning in the next gen in front of this big pack. If I'm sure whoever I'm pushing would do the same to me. That's been our agreement. We will off of 4, we're racing, no matter who it is, no matter what the situation is. Come Talladega in the playoffs, that'll be different. But for Daytona, it's no friends on the last lap.
Well, the winning mentality certainly stays strong from those orange wheel guys up at Clemson. Drew, again, thank you so much for popping into the booth for our pre-race show. Best of luck out there. We'll hope to see you in victory lane after all the dust has settled.
Of course, I hope so.
Good luck.
That was Drew Williams, your summer 2023 Garage Shop Throwback Cup Series champion, and he's hoping to find his way into victory lane tonight, Alex, maybe at the expense of a teammate, but it sounds like he's already worked that out with the Clemson guys, and they're out here ready to race for that win and to have some fun.
Yeah, they've all had time over the off season to prepare for it, so they've had the opportunity to sit in and know every. Sorry, we're getting some info from our producer here. But yeah, no, they've had time all off season to prepare for this upcoming race, so they know exactly what they're going to do in those sort of situations, at least in theory. Once you actually get on track, you're hurtling down at 200 miles an hour and those laps start ticking away. The plan only goes as far as you're willing to abide by it. So when it comes to that final corner, maybe things do get a little hairy there, but ultimately I think we're going to get treated to an absolute thrilling race once again here at Daytona that never seems to fail to disappoint. But it is going to be interesting to see who are the comers and who are the goers in an event like this, because with super speedway racing, everyone's so close together. You see so many different people cycle up toward the front and then people who cycle back toward the rear. And with this being 100 laps, you have plenty of time to experience what it's like running up front, running in the back of the field, maybe even losing the draft if you're not careful, coming down pit lane, getting recycled back in. There's just so many possibilities in a race that is 100 laps long, and ultimately it's going to come down to who's going to be able to put themselves in position at the end of the race to make it happen.
Yeah, and you said it right. You can make all the plans you want, you can do all the strategizing, but this race is complete chaos from flag to flag. 100 very long laps, the longest race of the season. And whatever you're cooking in the strategy room, whatever you've got in your crew chief notebooks, you might as well just go ahead and throw it out, because chances are not everything's going to line up like you think. Teammates could get wrecked out. You could get wrecked out. You could get caught up in an incident, or heaven forbid, the big one. You mentioned pit road. It is extremely hard to get onto pit road at this track, coming from almost 200 miles an hour down to 55 just on that first little front straightaway. And even like you said, getting shuffled out of line, you lose the draft, you get hung out to dry, and you get basically rocketed to the back of the field, and then you got to work your way all the way back up towards the front. There are so many things that can go wrong here, and you got to plan for all of them. This isn't as much of a race as it is a 4D chess match at 190 miles an hour. But it always helps to have those teammates. It helps to have people that you can work with. Teammates from your school, in your technical alliance, some allies that you've made in previous seasons. But all these drivers know exactly what to do. And we'll see how it works.
It's also especially tough for the rookies. They haven't had the opportunity to race against some of these guys before. So, if you're a veteran and you have the opportunity to pick between two lines, and it's someone you know and someone you don't, and if you have any trust in the person you're probably going to go that way. So that's why super speedway racing is so hard for newcomers, is because you don't have that level of rapport that a lot of the vets have. And I think that might play a factor tonight as well, with so many new faces. I've been seeing some folks during the practice here before the race this evening. It is a full session there, Zach, and qualifying will matter quite a bit, because there's going to be a handful of people, and by handful I mean at least a double-digit number, who aren't going to be able to make the show tonight.
Yep, up to 60 drivers have entered tonight's race, and only 43 are going to make the show. So we're going to send up to 17 drivers home. So qualifying is going to be really important, and we will be sure to get to that as soon as it starts. But for the time being, we're going to take a quick break. Our first Ignition pre-race show is over, so we'll be back in about 5 minutes to cover the first race of the fall 2023 College Cup Series season. We'll be right back with the Daytona 250. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, fans of college sim racing from all over the world, it is my duty and my honor to welcome you all back to another season of the Collegiate iRacing League. The summer break is over, classes and school are back in session, and that heralds the arrival of a brand new season of the most exciting series in all of college sim racing, Season 9, Fall 2023 of the CIL College Cup Series. It's been 4.5 months, an entire semester since our drivers have taken the next-gen car on track back at Homestead Miami Speedway, where Jared Kaler won an unprecedented 4th College Cup Series title in a row for the UNC Charlotte 49ers esports program. This summer, however, we went back in time and ran the Garage Shop Throwback Cup Series with the iRacing Gen 4 cars, and it was an extremely entertaining blast from the past as Drew Williams and Clemson University brought home their first ever College Cup Series titles. But all that goes away now as we have a brand new season upon us. Will Kaler win his 5th next-gen title in a row? Will Zach DeWale of St. Clair College, now an alumni, finally break his streak of runner-up finishes? Or will we see a rookie put together a run for the championship? We will certainly find out all of that in 13 weeks' time. But first, we have the biggest race in the CIL up for grabs, the Daytona 250. It's our longest race of the season and one of the most challenging to win as we've seen in the past. But last season, Jason Wallet from Drexel University took home the Daytona 250 championship in his first ever CIL start, an unprecedented and almost unexpected achievement. 250 miles, 100 laps separate one of our 43 qualifying drivers from eternal CIL glory, and in the words of Shea Adam, cold, hard cash. That's right. Cash payouts are back in the CIL, and all of our podium drivers will take home a chunk of change on top of their points hauls from tonight. But cash and points aren't the only prizes up for grabs. A win tonight will secure your spot in the second ever CIL College Cup Series playoffs. But we have 250 miles before we start talking about that. Yep. In the meantime, CIL Nation, we are so back. I am excited to be back in the College Cup Series booth alongside my good friend and co-commentator Alex Gagnon and an all-new production team in the booth. Lead producer Christian Hill alongside John Deacle and Keith Brubaker. And Alex, I think I speak for all of us when I say I am so ready to get this season started.
Yeah, I'm so excited for it. It's gonna be so much fun. Brought a brand new extended crew up here, brand new field of drivers coming in, to on top of the vets that are coming back. A CIL record turnout here to qualify for the Daytona 250 this evening. What's not to love? I mean, we've got racing, we've got collegiate rivalries. This is the place to be here on a nice Labor Day Monday night.
And happy Labor Day to all of our American fans watching. We hope you've enjoyed your long weekend. If you had today off, great. If you didn't, join the club. But we still have some great racing for you tonight. And I think we're going to go ahead and jump onto some of the action on track, as I believe qualifying is underway, Alex.
Yeah. So with that, we will take a look here, starting with qualifying. Something new we're going to try this year here is a little bit of the a qualifying video, get you an eye on what people should be looking for here when qualifying at Daytona. Daytona is probably the one of the easiest tracks to qualify on the schedule, dare I say, Zach. Daytona being a track where you kind of just put the hammer down and let it roll. It's so important that you hit your marks cleanly because everyone's times are going to be so close together here. A lot of time can be gained or lost, particularly off that exit 2. But Zach, when it comes to qualifying here, it really is just a matter of inches.
It really is. This is one of the most intimidating tracks on the entire College Cup Series circuit, as well as the NASCAR Cup Series circuit. 2.5 miles long, 31 degrees of banking in the corners, 15 degrees in this tri-oval here as you see the start-finish line. To finish lap number 1, we're going to take a look at an in-car camera. You can see that loud pedal is not lifting. 8,400 RPM, about 175, 180 miles an hour around this circuit. You're going to try to hug that double yellow line at the bottom of the course as much as you can through the corners to try and make it as as little of a distance as possible from stripe to stripe. We're going to see qualifying times somewhere in the low 49s, maybe somewhere in like the 49.1, 49.4 range. But these times, just due to the nature of qualifying at this track, are going to be really close. So we're excited to see what people can do. As you can see, that's a long, fast qualifying lap at Daytona, as our CIL test car is going to come right across the line to log a time. Not for the race tonight. As you see, we gotta figure out what we're gonna name our driver there in the car, Alex. Little Stig test dummy for us running out on
Yeah,
track.
absolutely. If you got any suggestions at home on what we should name the CIL test driver, feel free to drop it in chat there, and maybe that'll be what we end up rolling with. But yeah, when it comes to qualifying, especially with this being the first race of the season, I mean, it's so important to get off on the right foot. And with, like 60 cars trying to enter tonight's race and only 43 spots, there is going to be nearly a third of the field who will not qualify for tonight's event, which is definitely going to be a tough way to start your season, not only for the sake of losing out on the opportunity to win the Daytona 250, but then that's one less race you'll have as far as points are concerned, as opposed to opportunities to win. It's so critical just to get into the show tonight, let alone what'll happen once they actually get going for 250 miles.
I believe our qualifying session has wrapped up or is coming close to an end. We just got a call from production that our final grid is ready to go. We got a short warm-up session before the drivers hit the track. So, Alex, we're going to go ahead and take a look at tonight's starting grid for the Daytona 250.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to get that queued up here in just a moment. And with only 43 cars making the show, it'll start back here with, or actually, it looks like we're jumping around on the grid just slightly. So we will get that to you in just one moment here.
Beautiful sunny day there at virtual Daytona this afternoon. Probably going to make for a nice hot slick track for some good racing.
Yeah, it definitely should be a fun one. It already looks like the feedback in the Discord here has been aggressive due to the fact that there's so many people who did not make it. It does seem like they said the defending race winner did not make the show, based off of a comment I saw here in our Discord chat, which makes me believe one of Zach DeWale or Jason Wallet will not qualify for tonight's Daytona 250. We'll have to be able to confirm that once we actually get there, if that's the case. But that if that is true, that is a spicy turn of events here before the race even gets going.
Well, that's a chance to defend their title that either of those drivers is not going to have, but also that means they have one less shot to make the playoffs. Their regular season has been reduced from 10 down to 9 races, which basically means they're going to have to be at the best of their best of the best for the rest of the regular season to get a shot at the playoffs. So yeah,
Yes.
Unfortunate for either of those drivers. And again, we're going to get the results confirmed from race control and from production, and we will have those for you in just a moment.
Yeah, it looks like with everything, with so many new things being implemented here for the fall, not everything's going to work 100% perfectly the first time around. So this is an opportunity for all of us to try some new stuff. In addition to those watching at home, I mean, I think this is the first time everyone at home has been able to see you and I here, Zach, on the little bit of the pre-race show. But yeah, no, as they do have a bit of a warm up here before the actual race begins. So we're not missing any of the actions just yet. We're just kind of going through the initial warm up here while we're getting our grid to work, and then in the few minutes here they'll be rolling off for the green flag.
And we do have these qualifying results rolling in. Getting our last few confirmed right now. These times are really, really close, so everyone's making sure that everything's absolutely correct. But I think we are all good and ready to go. Let's start from the top. Alex, let's go. Let's get into tonight's starting lineup.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's on pole tonight. Wingate University's Jake Cummings puts it up there with a 49.450. That is our fastest time in the field. Rolling off alongside him on row one, it'll be Alexander Heidler, Brandon Schulenberger, and Clint Halterman, row two. Austin DeLong and Edward Sanchez, row three. Schulenberger and Halterman, by the way, they are from Wingate and UNC Charlotte, respectively. DeLong and Sanchez from Penn College of Technology and Baruch College, respectively. Ohio State's Matthew Morton rolls off in seventh alongside UNC Charlotte's Jared Kaler. Arizona State's Garrett Vighton and Nicholas Budemlik from St. John's University will be row 5 there, and that is your top 10 for tonight's Daytona 250.
Matthew Burton in the number 33 car from East Tennessee State. He's going to roll off in P11. Duncan O'Connor, the rookie, in the 34. I believe he is from Nova Scotia Community College, a Canadian. Another Canadian in the field tonight alongside our St. Clair drivers. He'll roll off 12th. Thomas Toomey in the 166 for the University of Virginia. He'll roll off 13th to the inside of Timothy Moore in P14. He's going to roll off 14th. Zach DeWale from St. Clair College, an alumni now, in the 027 is going to roll off P15 to his outside. Nick Stockner, a new teammate in the Orange Wheel Gang from Clemson University. Justin Ritchie in the 555 will roll off P17 to his outside. Ringer Muhammad Alif, our Formula C champion and another one of our Final Four playoff contenders from last season. Ball State University, he'll roll off 18th. Row 10 goes to Drew Williams, our defending Summer Series champion. He will start P19. And Jake Hall in P20 in the 98. Both of those drivers, I believe, are from Clemson University.
Yeah, absolutely they are. Row 11, it is Rhett Crane of Ball State alongside Alexander Light from Duquesne. Drew Jawa from, what school is that? Chattahoochee Technical rolls off in row 12 alongside VCU's Cody Fadenhauer. Row 13, Andrew Stahey and Lucas Moody. Carmine Caruso and Major Monsivice will be rolling off in row 14. Row 15, Esteban Munoz and Mario Miranda.
Sky Shrek and a couple rookies here. Sky Shrek rolling off 31st. Jack Ritchie rolling off 32nd. Edwin Onofre from UNT goes off 33rd. Jonathan Deerkop will roll off P34 for the University of Central Florida. Alex Hallinar in P35 from Binghamton University, the alumni now in the 057. P35. Connor Levy in the 14 for Arizona State. He'll roll off 36th. Athena LeClaire, 37th for St. Clair College. And Zachary Tallman, a rookie from the Penn College of Technology, one of those PCT cars that we talked about at the top of the show, making up the field tonight in 38th. Michael Sidor, 39th. Bradley Daniels, 40th. Colin Culpa, 41st. Robbie Vrabel Jr., 42nd. Thomas Bailey, the last car in, 43rd. Did not qualify. Hunter Haddesty, Jonathan Egge, Andrew Burrell, Dylan Godinez, Jason Wallet, Tyler Klingensmith, Ricky Paz, Nathan Inman, Nakizi Guest, Ethan Head, Jacob Weist, Darby Marioff, Tim Robb, Ethan Decatur, Zarin Bartholomew, Andrew McCall, and Cooper Glick. What a field for tonight's Daytona 250. And it's been a long summer away from the CIL for so many of these drivers, and for others, a short 1 month break since the Throwback Series. But as the field comes out of turn 4 for the final time behind the pace car, we are ready to go racing in the CIL College Cup Series. Pull the belts tight, get settled in your seat, grab the gear shift, because the pace car can't hold them back now, CIL Nation. Get on your feet. Season 9 and the Daytona 250 are underway. Barney throws the green, and we are racing.
And there they go roaring into turn number 1. A couple of the Wingate cars hooked up early. That is Jake Cummings and Brandon Schulenberger Car 1 and Car 2 there on that inside line. They've got themselves linked up nose to tail, and they're going to try to bring that inside line forward off the corner, but it looks like dropping down now. There goes Hyder dropping down in the 94. St. John's River State College up to the point here going into turn number 3. And going to the outside now is a whole host of cars. Here comes everyone roaring off. Look at that just giant pack coming off of turn 4 here. No one giving an inch. And as they come to the line here after the first lap, it looks like it'll be Heidler for a second. But I wouldn't count on him holding that for too much longer with Clint Halterman to his outside.
Alexander Hyder, St. John's River State College, in his first official lap in the CIL, is going to lead lap number 1 here at Daytona, but he's got a whole host of cars behind them. 2 of them were linked up. That was Jake Cummings and Schulenberger linked up, but Cummings jumped to the middle line. His teammate did not go with him. He got hung out to dry momentarily, but Schulenberger got a really nice run, let him back in, and now it's Schulenberger going for the lead. He's going to try and duck down to bring his teammate with him, but Halterman and UNC Charlotte holding on to that outside line. They're not going to let that happen, and now the Wingate guys are split apart just for a moment here as we're going to start lap 3 of 100 at Daytona.
Yeah, it looks like Schulenberger saw the opportunity. He jumped for it, and a split second too late, Cummings realized the opportunity that was in front of him, tried following him, was not able to do so. Now he's still stuck back on the inside, now trying to slide up to the high side here behind Halterman. Looks like he might be able to get it done. Now he will. Wingate still holding on the first and second. Now here comes Cummings down. Schulenberger goes with him. Edward Sanchez for Baruch College drops down with him. Halterman left out to dry on the outside just momentarily. But now Wingate currently running 1-2, trying to hold back the pack behind him. And when you have a teammate behind you there, it really makes life a lot easier when trying to defend the lead here, Zach.
Yeah, you know that these two are going to be working together as much as they can. There's still a long way to go in this race. But having a teammate to link up with this early is going to prove to be such a key factor in success to this race. And speaking of linking up, I think I see 2 UNC Charlotte guys linking up there in rows 4 and 5. That's Clint Halterman just in front of reigning series champ Jared Kaler in the number 1 machine on that high line. So it's the 2 Wingate guys and then Barrett College and then 2 UNC Charlotte cars on the outside, but that's not going to stay that way for long, as I think these guys are going to try to make some moves here as this outside line is going to start pressing for the lead. Here comes St. John's River State College. It's Hyder leading that bottom line. Austin DeLong just behind him. And the 074 machine, I believe that is...
That is Timothy Moore from Manhattanville College. He signed up just before the cutoff for today's race. We got the timestamp for him around 5:30 this afternoon, so very much a newcomer here to the CIL. He's been technically a part of the league for only a handful of hours, but Manhattanville College holding down the 3rd spot on the inside line. It looks like the outside line starting to fall apart a little bit here. The 2 Wingate cars side by side here holding up the rest behind. And here goes Dimlick, Kaler to the inside, Matthew Burton trying to work the inside as well. That inside line suddenly went from being side by side to about 8 cars ahead of the middle and outside lines. And it looks like Wingate might get it recollected here on the outside, but that was certainly a tough break for anyone who was directly behind him. The first people who come to mind are those 2 UNC Charlotte cars who now have dropped back to well outside the top 15.
Yeah, and all it took was that one little slip up from those 2 Wingate cars, and look how far back in the field they've fallen. That's well outside the top 15, maybe the top 20. As that high line, oh goodness, somebody spins. That high line got disorganized, and we've got 2 cars that go spinning into the infield, but we're going to stay green because the track is clear. We're going to check and see who that was, but already some contact and heavy racing in the middle of the pack. And I'm not sure who it was that got turned around.
One was Mario Miranda in the 89 for the University of Oklahoma. I couldn't tell who the second car was, but the first car that we saw perpendicular to the field there on the backstretch was Oklahoma's Mario Miranda, making his CIL debut tonight. And he was running pretty well up to that point. But yeah, we'll have to see if we can go back and see what happened exactly. Because all of a sudden, it looked like multiple cars went careening down into the infield of the backstretch. But we stayed green, so that is a tough break for both of those cars, as I don't think they're going to be able to get back to that unless there is a caution, given the way we're going now.
And that's a disastrous start for Mario Miranda, at Oklahoma University. I know there's two Oklahoma drivers in the field tonight. They were really looking forward to having a good showing in their first race in the CIL, but unfortunately, disaster strikes for one of those cars, as well as somebody else who got sent to that inside line. We're going to get back to that replay in just a moment. We've got some action up here back at the front of the field. Looks like that outside line is going to try and reorganize, gain back some of that, just a smidge of that momentum they lost with that big, big mistake at the front. And it looks like we're going to go single file here for the lead, about 5 rows deep for the time being. So let's take a look, Alex, at the replay of what happened on the back stretch the last time by.
Yeah, so we're on board here with Mario Miranda in the 89. It looks like there's contact there with the 44 of Carmine Caruso. I believe that is a driver for St. John's. So those the Sooners and the Red Storm making contact there on the backstretch, and didn't really work out well for either of them, as ultimately the 44 went off the nose of another car as well.
And it looks like Caruso may have walked away with some minor damage to that car only in that incident, as we're 3 wide and a little loose towards the middle of the pack there. Great save by somebody. I'm not sure who that was, but wow, what an incredible save. I saw someone pretty much completely sideways. But back to what I was saying, walked away from that, or was able to drive away from that incident with minor damage. Hopefully, Caruso was able to make it back to pit road, get that fixed up, and get back out on track to try and regain those laps back, as we're going to work on lap 10 of 100. We are a 10th of the way through this event already. Quick race going by, and already so much chaos, so much action on track. We've had spinners, we've had lead changes, we've had draft buddies find each other, and it looks like it's going to settle out for a little while. These drivers realize that the mission right now is to get to the end before they try and challenge for the race lead.
Yeah, a lot going on already here, but one of the things that has remained consistent is that Alexander Hyder for St. John's River State has been really good staying up front. But right as I say it, the outside line making a charge toward the front. Timothy Moore of Manhattanville looks like he might have the lead here, coming to the stripe just for a moment. And now as they are going back into turn number 1, that certainly seems like the case, but going back further into the field, I mean, we've seen a lot of chaos here in the back half of this lead pack, Zach. I mean, there has been cars dipping left and right, and a couple of spinners as well, as we're now taking a look here through the field. Everyone's still pretty 2x2 here as they run 11 laps in, and it is certainly providing a lot of opportunities for cars to advance up and down the field, as now that Timothy Moore took the lead here with Jawa from Kataguchi Technical, they both kind of have dropped to the inside here, along with Richie from Kentucky, and then the outside line kind of fell back after that with a lot less cars in formation.
And now they're going to get back together 2x2 there in the middle of the pack. Some side-by-side action and a lot of lane changes down that first little mini straight as they came into the tri-oval, but it looks like they're out for the time being. That outside line had a look for the lead coming out, turn 4 last time by, but that momentum has pretty much all gone completely away as more Jawa, Richie, and Light, among a few others, are leading this inside line. But look how quickly things can change here at Daytona. Looks like that outside line's got a couple more cars bringing up the rear of that. I believe that's the one of Jared Kaler leading that line. He's got Drew Williams from Clemson University working with UNC Charlotte, trying to get that line back up to the front to challenge for the lead, as we're going to start working on lap 13 of 100 in this event. If you're just tuning in, welcome back to the Collegiate iRacing League's College Cup Series and the Daytona 250, the biggest, longest, most intense race of the year. There's cash, points, a Daytona 250 championship on the line, as well as a playoff spot for one of these drivers who's going to walk away with the trophy in victory lane tonight. This is going to be an exciting race, as we are still under a quarter of the way done, coming to lap 14 once they cross the stripe.
Yeah, and through the early going here, we've seen a lot of opportunities for cars to really force the issue once they get a run coming through these corners. Now it looks like someone is going to try and pop out there. That might be Garrett Vighton from Arizona State. that number 42 card, now trying to lead the outside, jumping ahead of Jared Kaler and Drew Williams, the Season 7 and Season 8 champs here in the Collegiate Cup Series. So those are definitely a couple of people that you'd like to stay ahead of if you can. But on this inside line here, we have 3 people who are all making their CIL debuts. And then Alexander Light in 4th for Duquesne, who is not necessarily a rookie to the CIL, but this is only a single-digit number of starts for him as he ran a part-time schedule back in the spring. The first driver who ran a full-time schedule last year in the field here is currently Austin DeLong running 6th, and then Garrett Vighton running 7th. But one of the cars, Zach, that I'd like to keep my eye on here is I'm sure they're thinking early here. Matthew Morton for Ohio State, currently sitting back in 9th. He had an absolutely dominant season in the Gen 4 summer season we ran a few months ago. Ultimately did not walk away with the championship, but did lead the field in the most wins for the season. And I have a feeling that is a trend that we might be able to see continue here if he's able to keep hanging around the top 10 as this race progresses.
Matthew Morton, also a fierce competitor in the eNASCAR College Series that they run. He came to the CIL as a result of some of our drivers competing in that as well. He said, "This looks like a lot of fun." And he came to run with us this summer, had a blast, and came back to run the next-gen car as well. And it looks like he's not the only ringer in that part of the field. There's Drew Williams pushing Jared Kaler on the high side, with the 42 of Vighton in Arizona State now leading that high line. He snuck up in front of the 1 of Kaler. They're going to try to lead that charge, get a huge head of steam down the back straightaway here to avoid that side draft from the low line and maybe take a whack at the lead. But I do want to call attention to one thing that we haven't mentioned yet on the broadcast. If you're new to the CIL, we are not a students-only league. We allow both students and alumni of colleges to compete with us. So if you look on the left side of your screen on the timing chart, there's going to be some 3-digit numbers, and there's going to be some 2- and 1-digit numbers. The 1- and 2-digit numbers are our students. Our 3-digit numbers are our alumni. And if you look on the cars with blue spoilers and blue banners are going to be your students, and the cars with red spoilers and banners are your alumni. Now, even though they're racing on track together, they're all going to be racing for the overall College Cup Series playoff championship, but there are also student and alumni championships up for grabs as well. There is an individual championship and a school championship. So even though you may not win, if you're an alumni, you may not win the race, but you can come third and be the highest finishing alumni, then you still get points for your class win in the individual and school championships. So a lot on the line, even if you're not racing to win. Obviously, everybody on track is going to be racing each other side by side to get as many overall and playoff points as possible. But you're also going to race your classmates, for lack of a better term, even harder because there's so much more on the line that you're competing for so many championships with fellow alumni and fellow students out on track. But right now, it looks like the alumni are showing the way. 3 of the top 4 are alumni. That's Moore, Ritchie, and Light at the front of the field, and Drew Joie from Chattahoochee Technical is the sole student in that top 4, and then it's Hyder from St. John's River State College in 5th, and Garrett Vighton, who's leading that outside charge as the students, as we are going to come towards lap 20 next time by. 5th of the way through the event, Alex, and I think, dare I say, it's time to start thinking about green flag pit stops.
Yeah, I mean, at the rate we're going here, it is certainly possible that we see them sooner rather than later. And it does make me wonder, this lead pack is about 22 cars strong at the moment here, and then there's another big pack about 11 seconds behind them that incorporates about another 15, 16 cars or so. I do wonder if the cars in that second pack think about trying to get off cycle from the ones in this lead pack here, or how this is going to shake out. Because right now they need to find a way to try and make up some of that time if there is no caution. But if you are thinking about green flag stops, right now, if you're in that outside lane, the first thing that's coming to your mind is, all right, when I need to come down pit road, how do I make my way down to the bottom lane? Because if there's not a way in, you can't force yourself through unless you want to cause calamity throughout the field. So you got to be thinking as much about getting to the front as you do getting to the bottom of the racetrack when it comes to a green flag pit cycle here at Daytona.
And this is an extremely hard pit road to get onto. Like we mentioned in the Ignition pre-race show, you're going to come from about 190, 195 miles an hour down to 55 as pit road speed limit. You're going to see a lot of drivers pull off about halfway, quarter of the way down that first front straightaway and slam on the brakes to get that big 3,500 pound stock car slowed down in time to get on pit road. And you don't want to do it alone. The draft is extremely powerful here. It's worth at least 4 or 5 seconds a lap. So if you lose the draft by pitting alone or in a group of 1 or 2 cars, then that can be a race-ending move. But you also don't want a pack that's too big, because if you have too many cars that try to come down to pit road at once, I think we call that term going bowling. If one of those drivers spins, they're probably going to take out a few of the other drivers around them. So it means you're going to have to do a lot more getting slowed down as a pack and getting sped up together as a pack once you get off of pit road. So it'll be interesting to see how many drivers will talk with each other about, oh, I want to pit on this lap, and, oh, I want to try and come in with my teammates. Obviously, teammates are going to try and come together if they're in the same pack, but if you're in the boat of, say, Penn College of Technology or Clemson or Ball State, where you've got drivers in both packs, that may not work to your advantage.
Yeah, and some of that strategy may have also been affected by a fact that nearly a third of the field didn't qualify for tonight's race. You may have had teammates at the start of things, and then you might be looking around being like, wait, am I the only guy who made it through? And then you just have to start finding help wherever you can get it. But right now, the front 4 cars here have been so good about keeping themselves lined up nose to tail. They're actually starting to separate just a little bit from the 2 lines of cars behind them. I wouldn't say it's a massive separation. It might be a car length between the back bumper of Alex Light and the front of Alex Hyder. But at the moment, it's a noticeable enough thing where now as you see that inside line work their way back, the top 4 cars have been really good about staying glued to each other, and that has allowed them to really maintain this advantage because no one has been able to put up a run against them since those 4 took the lead about 5-10 laps ago.
And one thing to keep in mind if you're Timothy Moore is that you are completely flat out the entire lap. You are burning a ton of fuel every circuit around this track. If you're Drew Jawah or Jack Ritchie or Alex Light, you're on full throttle maybe once or twice over the course of the lap, and only momentarily because you get a good run. You're not burning as much fuel per lap as the leader punching the way through that air, and that also goes for Garrett Vighton leading that high line. If you're the car in front of the pack, you're going to be burning fuel a lot faster than the guys behind you who are just following in your draft, keeping up with you. So Moore is going to have to come in and make a pit stop probably about 2 or 3 laps earlier than anybody behind him would anticipate doing. So he's got to keep that in mind when he comes to make his stop as well.
Well, he also might have to keep it in mind even before the stop, because to your point about, you want to come down pit road as a team, you want to get off pit road as a team. If you're the only person coming in 2-3 laps before the rest of the field, you could be out of luck when everyone cycles through. So you almost have to balance it as, can I extend it to when someone else comes in, or do I have to maybe forfeit the lead to save a little bit of fuel, or do I just run it and hope for a caution? It's a weird spot to be in, especially so early into a race. I mean, we're only 25 laps in, but already these are the questions on the minds of these drivers on how do I best position myself for the end of this race, and these thoughts happen as early as now when the threat of green flag pit stops start looming, and you're the only person who's burning fuel at the full throttle limit compared to most of the rest of the field here. You might have a couple of other cars who might be going all out if they're leading their respective lines or packs, but certainly Timothy Moore is the highlight example of the predicament those cars might find themselves in right now.
And I'm starting to wonder how many of these drivers coming into tonight's race with a full 43-car field, the first race of the season at Daytona, one of the most aggressive and chaotic tracks on the circuit. I wonder how many of them it even crossed their mind that we would be doing green flag pit stops, or to have such a huge green flag run to start this event. Because I certainly would not have even put that in my book. But it looks like these drivers maintained a really forward-thinking attitude. Those race start jitters got out of the way pretty quickly. They found themselves filing in line and said, "Hey, we don't need to race each other at the start. We got to wait until we get to the end, until about 10 laps to go before we start making these moves." But green flag pit stops always make for a fun time, and I think that window is going to open in about the next lap and a half. If you're the leader, Timothy Moore, you're going to want to come in probably around lap 30, but no later than lap 32 with how many laps he's led in this event. For everybody else, I think they're going to try and come with him.
It's also worth noting with the whole looming green flag pit stops here that this was almost not the case potentially. I mean, around lap 7 or so, for anyone who may have joined us a bit late, we did have a couple of cars go spinning into the infield of the backstretch, but since they were off the racing line, iRacing deemed it not a caution, but that is why we find Mario Miranda back in, I believe, 41st at the moment. And despite the damages, it looks like Major Monsivais has still been able to hold on to that second pack there. But there was almost a caution earlier on. But, you know, with that, everyone else has been running really well to this point to make sure there hasn't been too many tough scenarios for each other as far as where you put your car to not take somebody out. And because of it here, we've run the first 28, about to be 29 laps here, all green. And we do have, well, not ideally, but I'd imagine we'll have the idea of green flag pit stops coming up in a handful of laps for those cars who are still going all out. Especially now that the single file, a lot of cars have started finding their way to the bottom of the track, as there's about an 8-car breakaway here in this lead pack that is separated from the rest of them. And they are charging down on a couple of cars ahead of them here. We'll see if lap traffic affects the leaders here in any way.
Yeah, and lap traffic is always kind of just one of those things that you have to work around. You can't work with them. One thing I was going to point out, I think we've milked the green flag pit stops enough, but I do want to mention one last thing. Usually in the NASCAR Cup Series or Xfinity or Craftsman Truck Series, you would see the drivers sticking their hand out of the right side driver's side window on the backstretch to signal, "Hey, I'm coming into pit road." Well, that's not the case in the sim. We don't have a button for that yet, iRacing. Get on it. But a lot of the drivers are going to be communicating using the in-race radio channels to talk to other drivers and say, "Hey, I'm going to think about pitting in the next couple of laps or so," which I'd imagine is what Timothy Moore is going to have to do. He's about 2 to 5 laps. He's got about 2 to 5 laps left on this tank of fuel as that lead pack is going to go underneath the line.
Oh,
and that's Jake
Schulenberger.
Cummings and Schulenberger and the number 7 Wingate machine. He's going to go around for a spin, and we have our first caution of the event, and that could not have come at a better time for the leaders.
Man, all this talk about potentially having green flag pit stops just goes right out the window there. Don't know exactly what happened, but from the angle we were looking at, it looked like the first car to at least go around was the 7 of Brandon Schulenberger, who was, I think, rolled off today third, and then fell back a little bit when the earlier shuffle of the Wingate cars occurred a few laps in. But that is certainly, looks like it collected quite a few cars, and we'll have to take a look at the replay when we have a chance to see what exactly happened.
Yeah, I think that's a certified commentator's curse moment. We got really excited. We were about to see some real action on pit road, and then a little super speedway racing incident happened about halfway down that pack. But yeah, one thing I noticed there, Alex, that single file pack basically cleared themselves of the rest of the field. I saw that outside line getting smaller and smaller and smaller in the rear view of Moore, Jawah, Richie, Light, Hyder, and the rest of that pack. They just kind of dusted them and pulled away. They had momentum on their side, as I believe we are going to see every single one of the leaders come into pit road this time.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly the time to do so, and here they come peeling off down pit road. But as we're getting down pit road here, yeah, understandably, everyone's coming at this point. Four tires probably, full tank of fuel, getting back out there with the full service.
There's Moore into his pit stall, going to take probably 4 fresh Goodyear tires and a tank. All these drivers stop at least one more time to get to the end of the race. You see a pit road, an extremely busy place, as he's going to drop the car and get off, but he's passed by the 3 of, I believe that is Drew Jawa, will re-inherit the lead, or he'll inherit the lead coming off of pit road, followed by the 555 of Justin Ritchie from Kentucky, that beautiful blue and white checkerboard patterned machine. Great pit stops for both of those two drivers, as they're going to make up the front row for this restart, pending that nobody stayed out on this pit cycle.
Yeah, and I can't imagine anyone would have stayed out if they could help it. I mean, the fuel simply wasn't going to make enough sense, so I'd imagine most cars are coming down pit road. But that is a huge gain for Chattahoochee Technical and for Kentucky to jump Timothy Moore in Manhattanville College. And that'll give them the front row, I'd imagine, when it's all said and done, unless Rhett Crane stayed out. It looks like he's currently being scored in first, but we will let that sort itself out, and we'll take a replay here of the caution that brought us to this point with that big collision coming off of 4.
There you see out of the back of the car, we're riding along with Schulenberger. There's Jake Cummings from Wingate University, and he just got a bumper right underneath his teammate. Oh man.
No.
That's going to be a spicy voice chat in a couple of seconds. So some contact between the Wingate teammates sent the 7 machine spinning into the infield. He collected a couple more drivers. But an unfortunate racing incident there, as deemed by race control intervention. But that's the exact kind of thing. That's the exact kind of incident that we see at these super speedway races that bring out cautions. It's just one little slip up, one little gap, one push gone wrong, especially there coming out of turn 4 where the banking drops away. As Rhett Crane is going to get the free pass there, you see going around the pace car, Ball State University. But one little mistake can take you out of the race, end your day. And with the nature of this pack racing at super speedways, it can end some other people's days as well.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I'm telling you, one person who we didn't talk about a ton here, but I think this caution also really benefits them, is Oklahoma's Mario Miranda. He looked like he had some decent pace in the early going until that spin on the backstretch, but now he's going to be able to get regrouped in with the full field here and have an opportunity to potentially do some damage. But, there's a lot of cars who I'm sure are happy that everything's got regrouped up here. Basically, everyone in that second pack, I'm sure, is going to be happy to have a second chance to hang with the lead pack here once again. With the lights off on the pace car, when they come back around through 4, they will be going green for the second time this evening. It's been a pretty quick start to this race. We're already at the 1/3 mark, and it's only our first caution of the evening.
Yeah, if you're just now joining us, welcome back to the Collegiate iRacing League. We are at the virtual Daytona International Speedway for the opener of the College Cup Series season number 9. Working on lap 33, coming 34 on the restart of 100 in this event, where we have a Daytona 250 championship, a spot in the College Cup Series playoffs, and real cold, hard cash, in the words of Shea Adam, up for grabs for our podium finishers. But once again, the field is going to be stacked up 2 by 2 for our first restart of the season. Out front, it's Drew Jewell from Chattahoochee Technical, and then Jack Ritchie from the University of Kentucky to his outside. They're going to hit the restart zone as Jewell gets a really good restart. Barney throws the green, and we are back to racing at Daytona.
And already the zigging and zagging is going on here as they go into turn 1, getting low, getting high. The leader's going all the way up to the wall here. You see that 4-car tandem, or I guess quad group that was running so well earlier on, already synced back up. Looks like Timothy Moore was able to get around Jack Ritchie. He gets back up into second. You've got Alex Light there in the 954, maybe looking to the inside, now dropping down back behind the 555 of Ritchie as they go roaring through 3 and 4. Looks like already there might be a little separation in the 2 different packs, but right now everything kind of staying together. That inside line looks to be the dominant force here on the restart, as it is 5 cars to clear before the first side-by-side action 6 rows back.
And I'll tell you one thing I already noticed, that outside line being led by one machine of Jared Kaler. He's got Jake Cummings right behind him. So 2 CIL regulars, including a 4-time champion leading that front line right now. He's going to try and get that outside line to work, but we haven't seen it really form up all night long, or rather all day long here at the virtual Daytona in the sim. The inside line has just been so strong, but I think we can credit that to the quality of driver that's being shown leading the way. Drew Jawad, Chattahoochee Technical College, Timothy Moore right behind him from Manhattanville, and then Jack Ritchie from Kentucky is going to move up to the high line and block Kaler. That's going to create a pretty big gap in that low line, leaving the 2 leaders stranded. And now Moore is going to jump up to that high line as well. Jawad's going to get absolutely hung out to dry here and fall into the clutches of Alex Light and Duquesne University. Right behind him, Drew Williams and Clemson University waiting for a chance to strike maybe with the drivers behind them. And that's going to take Moore to the lead, well clear of more than a car in front of the number 3 machine. And now the 555 of Ritchie going to try and make it up to the front as Moore powers his way to a massive lead, as I think we have a caution out on track. Those drivers spread out very, very quickly, and looks like they're going to slow down. And yes, we do have a caution flag, so we're going to check and see what caused that. But man, Timothy Moore absolutely timed that perfectly to take the lead right as the yellow came out.
Yeah, there was a huge gap there, and that part of that gap may have been caused by the caution coming out, but if it wasn't, he's very lucky it did. That gap was so huge that pack was going to run back on him on a hurry. But yeah, no, with the caution coming out here, it's an opportunity for things to kind of settle down a little bit up front. Now past the 1/3 mark, I guess everyone decided to go, all right, maybe it's my turn to go for the lead, and let's see what happens if I try making the move for it. And things were starting to get a little dicey up front, but now they're going to have an opportunity to re-rack, try again. And the one thing with cautions there, Zach, is they tend to breed more cautions.
That is indeed, and I tried not to say it the last time the yellow flew because I knew it was going to happen, but yeah, you're right. Cautions breed cautions, especially when you get the field bunched up in bigger packs like we see after a Daytona caution. People are going to be more aggressive on the restarts to try and get the positions that they can, as I don't think we're going to see anybody come to pit road this time. And that is a big negatory no takers on pit road, maybe towards the back of the field, but just not enough green flag laps to warrant getting in and topping off for fuel, especially at this point where you would have to stop at least one more time to get to the end of the race. But this caution will certainly help with your fuel. As of right now, we're not really sure what caused the caution. We're gonna keep an eye out.
Gonna chalk it up to debris until I hear otherwise.
Oh, here we go. Just got a report from Race Control, cars 44 and 43, a netcode incident.
So the 43's Sky Shrek, the 44 Carmine Caruso. Yeah, that is a tough break there with netcode. You never want to see that happen.
Yeah, and for those of you who are new to iRacing, basically there's latency in there's always latency in an online video game, and I guess the best way to describe netcode is iRacing thinks your car is going to go somewhere or is somewhere that it's not, and when it would be in a position that it would make contact with another driver, iRacing is going to go ahead and simulate that contact. So even though your cars may not visibly make contact in the game, iRacing thinks it does, and it's going to calculate the physics appropriately. So that's what happened there. One more bit of information: Duncan O'Connor is going to get the free pass, lucky dog, for that caution. So he will be able to get himself back on that lap for Nova Scotia Community College.
You can see Timothy Moore. He's already thinking about a little bit of fuel save there. Running it in high gear, only getting on the throttle when he needs to. I think he knows that he got lucky with where that last caution fell if he was out front, and he's making sure he's going to have as much fuel as he can to work with here on the middle stage of this race. Well, it does not appear that we're going to be able to bring up a replay of the netcode incident. But sometimes iRacing, that's just kind of the way the service rolls. But with the lights out on the pace car, they will be rolling at full speed once again. The next time by, it'll be Timothy Moore and Jack Ritchie in the front row, Drew Jawa and Alex Light in row 2. And now that they're rolling off side by side, do we think they're going to battle each other? Or do you think they're going to try and get themselves lined up the way they were dominating the early part of this race, Zach?
I think at this point, you have to do what's gotten you to this point already. I think we're going to see the first about 2 or 3 rows try to fall in single line, but I think Jared Kaler, Drew Williams may have some other plans. Jared Kaler, the second car in that outside line. If I know him, he's a very aggressive racer. He's very spirited. He wants to go for the lead whenever he has the chance, but he's also a smart racer. So he's not going to force the issue. Obviously, he's going to take a run if it's given to him. But I think we're going to see, the first about 3 or 4 rows of this field try to get together to work single file, get through this next round of pit stops, get the car fueled up to where you can go to the checkered, and then that's when the real racing will start.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Still plenty of opportunity to work yourself in a position here to win the Daytona 250, to win the season opener. But that is still well a ways away as we're rolling through 3 and 4. Right now, the car to beat is that 074 out of Manhattanville College, Timothy Moore. Alongside him, Jack Ritchie from the University of Kentucky, currently rolling 1-2. As they make their way off of 4, they're going to be going to hit the throttle. I'd imagine we'll see a similar strategy from Moore here, where he tries to jump up in front of Ritchie and Light like he did on the previous restart. At least when he went for the lead. But now the pace car is peeled off. They've hit the Geico restart zone. Green flag back in the air, and we are racing once again at Daytona, and a great jump for the inside line as they already have created some separation from the outside.
Yeah, that was a great restart from those cars on the inside. My goodness, they made it work. As I believe, those first 4 cars have cleared the rest of the field. That let the one of Kaler come down to the inside, but it looks like, I think thinking back to that restart, the rest of the cars on the inside line didn't really get as good of a jump. So the first about 4 or 5 rows really got it going. And I think they were a couple cars clear of the outside line coming to that start. But the outside line, man, that thing just completely dissipated. There is nobody on the outside right now, and we're not even done with the first lap since the restart.
Yeah, everyone, I think, saw how little there was to work with on the outside and said, well, not a place for me, I guess, and have dived down to the inside. The amount of cars remaining on the outside, I'm pretty sure, is maybe only 6 or 7 cars. Everyone else is shuffled down to that double yellow line and is just trying to make some time here up on the leaders. But right now, the front 4 is now a little bit different than we had previously seen it, with Jack Ritchie falling all the way back to outside the top 10, trying to lead that outside. So we still see Moore, Jawa, and Alex Light in your top 3, but now we have 2 Clemson cars and a car from UNC Charlotte running 4, 5, 6 with Andrew Williams, Jared Kaler, and Jake Hall.
Yeah, that inside line is, spoke too soon. I was about to say the inside line is all alone right now with no challenge, but I think that's the 23 of Williams from Clemson University and the 22 of Austin DeLong maybe have linked up. No, that's the 26 of Sanchez from Barrett College have linked up to try and get something to work on that outside line. Or no, that's Jake Hall from Clemson University. 2 Clemson cars inside the top 10. I believe that's the first pairing that we've seen since the Wingate cars at the very start of this race, but that outside line did not really do much of anything with only 2 cars. You've got to have a lot of support if you want to make these runs work, and 2 cars versus, what is that, about 12, 13, 14 at least, is not going to do much of anything. But these leaders, Moore and Jawa, man, they are linked up nose to bumper, pushing even through the tri-oval. They've got a whole head of steam coming into turn 1 as they're dragging the rest of that inside line with them.
Yeah, they are really, dare I say, making up for lost time right now. They are really trucking here, leading the way. Alex Light has been very content to kind of hang on to the back of those couple cars here through the early going. I wonder if he's going to be so cooperative here as these laps start to tick away. He's been the third or fourth car of the 3 or 4 car tandem up front for most of the event here. Is now looking to the outside. You've got Edward Sanchez and the Season 7 alumni winner, Colin Kolpa from the University of Indiana. And Kolpa's really laying into the back bumper there of Sanchez, trying to get him to move forward a bit. But there is simply just not enough support on that outside row for it to really be making a big difference just yet. I mean, they're side by side after about 8-9 cars. And it's just
Red Crane gets turned!
Oh, where is that?
That was at the very
Red Crane?
That was at the very back of that lead pack. That's going to bring out a caution. Rhett Crane he forced the issue, took it 3 wide at the very back of that pack, and he made contact with somebody at the very end trying to get his way back in line. But an aggressive move for that Ball State University driver doesn't work out in his favor in the end. He's going to try and get that car whipped back around. I don't think he got very much damage. Just a simple spin for him, but parked on the backstretch. That'll bring out the caution. Our third caution of the night on lap 45, almost halfway through this event.
Yeah, I'll have to see. Oh, it looks like the front bumper's missing off the 14 of Connor Levy. But I will have to reserve any thoughts I have till after the replay here. But we do know that Rhett Crane was the car that was getting the free pass last caution. So I wonder if it was a matter of trying to force the issue a bit to get back up into the mix here after getting back on the lead lap. We do have the replay ready to go, so let's take a look and see what happened to that 6 machine from Ball State. So you can see him the gray and red 6. And sorry, yeah, go ahead, Zach.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, it was just a move. Oh, yeah, the 33, Timothy Williams involved. The 14 of Connor Levy also involved in that incident. Nowhere for those 2 drivers to go. But yeah, it looks like the 6 got a run and had to go to the middle to avoid running through the cars up in front of him. Got a good run, tried to come back down into the bottom line, and there just wasn't room for him to go. Classic clear, not clear incident that we find a lot on super speedways.
Yeah, and those sort of situations happen in such a hurry where, once you start trending that direction, it's so easy for it to happen, and there's not enough time to react once it happens. It does look like we have a fair bit of takers for pit road here as we're nearing the midway point. I wonder if people are thinking with the cautions here, they might be able to use this opportunity to their advantage on the pit cycle. But yeah, no, Rhett Crane, incredibly fortunate that car isn't more beat up than it could be given the situation it just found itself in off the exit of 2.
Yeah, you see a few takers from a little further on back in the pack going to come down pit road, top it all, put some fuel, and get back in. Really hope that there's a decent green flag run here. The leaders did not pit, which means that they're going to have a little less fuel, but they're going to be a little bit lighter than these cars in the middle of the pack that came down. You see some other cars sticking behind on pit road to try and fix some damage they may have picked up from incidents or bump drafting and the like. One bit of information, Sky Shrek is going to get the free pass for this caution, so they will unlap themselves to go, I believe, 8 laps down as opposed to 9. So Shrek is in the 41st position, so we still have 40 cars on the lead lap in this race, which is phenomenal driving by a lot of these drivers out in the field tonight.
Yeah, it's still the fun part, but also terrifying part, if you're any one of those 40 cars, is that there's still 40 cars on the lead lap, which means there's still 40 cars who, at a moment's notice, could be in the hunt for the for a
win the race.
Here.
Yeah,
yeah, it's a cool feeling for us and for those watching. But if you're one of the car drivers in there, you definitely know, you're like, great. There's still so many people who have a car capable of getting up to the front and winning this thing, which can be a little bit of a terrifying thought if you aren't sure exactly how things are going to shake out, which you never can be at these super speedway events. But yeah, no, certainly a lot of opportunities here. And with the nature of super speedway racing, you never know who's going to find themselves in the position to strike when the iron's hot, so to speak. Right now, though, as things are going, I would say Timothy Moore, Drew Jawa, those are a couple of cars to keep an eye on as far as potential candidates here. They have been two of the fastest cars on track throughout the first half of this race, and barring anything stopping them, I don't see that changing anytime soon.
Now, this pack of about the first 5 or 6 cars has been out front or in the top 10 for pretty much the entire event, and they've done an incredible job of setting the pace in this race. Good racecraft, good professionalism from these drivers to know that they're not having to race for the win at this point. We still have over half of this race to go. So they're going to work together to try and get to the end of this race as fast as possible, so then they can challenge for the race win. But they still put on a good show out front. There's been a lot of too wide, little further on back in the field, outside line trying to get organized, but it just doesn't look like it's going to be able to work tonight, especially if you don't have the support of about 5 or 6 other drivers at least to make that run to the front work. But for the time being, it's still the 074 and the 3 out front, comprising row 1 for this restart. It's going to be Timothy Moore from Manhattanville College going to lead the field to the green flag, and then the 3 of Drew Jawa from Chattahoochee Technical College to his outside. Behind them, the 954 of Alex Light from Duquesne University, and to his outside, Drew Williams from Clemson University. Jared Kaler and I believe Edward Sanchez are going to make up row 3 for this restart. But you see the pace car makes the hard left onto pit road. Moore is the control car. He's going to hit the Geico restart zone. Barney throws the green, and we are back to racing at Daytona.
And once again, that 074 and the 3 get hooked up almost immediately. But Andrew Williams with a good move to the outside there of Alex Light. Drew Williams now will take over the 3rd position, with Light falling back to 4th. And now Austin DeLong trying to hold on to just a couple of cars on the outside there. But that's going to be a losing battle unless someone jumps up to join him. But right now, the 23 is the closest anybody's come to breaching the walls, per se, of that front 3 or 4 cars, as now he separates Alex Light from Moore and Jawa. So we'll have to see if anyone can get up to the back bumper of him. Look to make a move up high, instead will drop back down. And do we have another caution?
We have a caution. Yes, we do. Yellow flag is out. We're going to check and see what caused this one. But yeah, cautions breed cautions, I think, is what we're going to see here. Just a bit of a race control update regarding the last incident. Car 6, Rhett Crane, did have to start from the rear of the field for that latest restart. He has been assigned fault for that incident involving himself and a car and a few other cars. But we're going to check and see what caused this one. I don't have anything confirmation from race control and production to see what happened there, but yeah, a textbook restart, I think, is what we saw from the leaders there. The 074 and the 3 were able to link up. The 3 able to jump down to the inside behind Moore, and Williams as well able to jump down to the inside from his 4th restarting grid position. So it worked out in the end for pretty much all the leaders. 954 of Alex Light as well, and Jared Kaler, I think he was still out on that. He was still out on that outside line, as we see the number 34 car with some pretty hefty damage there. I think I see Alex.
Yeah, he certainly seems like there could be a bit of damage to that ride as they're making their way through 3 and 4. That might have been where this caution comes from, unless there was just a bit of wall contact that we weren't aware of. But looks like a few more takers down pit road here, and we know with every subsequent caution of some cars staying on the track and some pitting, it's going to start leading to very interesting potential pit strategy situations here on the back of the back end of this race. As it looks like Clint Halterman very much overshot his pit box, had to work his way back. That is definitely going to cost the 07 a few seconds and potentially a few positions on track.
Yeah, and that's a very uncommon rookie mistake that we see from Halterman. He was very competitive in his first ever CIL season back in the spring. Did some damage points wise. Did some damage points wise over the summer in the Throwback Cup series. He's a very, very good driver. The UNC Charlotte Niners team, 49ers team. So unfortunate to see a mistake from him, as we see. I think I saw Cody Fadenhauer down on pit road as well from Virginia Commonwealth, and a few drivers getting some damage repaired as well before the next green flag.
Yeah, certainly a prime time to do so. You might not be able to get all the damage out, but you can at least get enough of it before the pace car comes back around to get that car handling a little bit better. As we see the 42 of Garrett Vighton roll on by. Looks like Matthew Burton still on pit road amongst a couple of others, as we see another car peeling off from pit road here, and that is the 34.
That's O'Connor,
and that is Duncan O'Connor from Nova Scotia Community College. So back on track and ready to rumble here in the back half of the Daytona 250, but certainly a bit of a damper on his chances thus far.
Yeah, and Alex Hallinar, the 057 from Binghamton University, recipient of the Lucky Dog that time by, so he will work his way back onto the lead lap. I believe he stopped on pit road. We're going to take another look at 7 of Halterman coming into his pit stall. Alex, you said he overshot it by a mile trying to get stopped.
Yeah, I mean, you see him making his way down, and at first it looks like he hits his pit box, and you're like, all right, cool. And then all of a sudden you see him backtrack another position or two, and you're like, oh, okay, so that wasn't your box at all. He nailed perfectly where he needed to be in Brandon Schulenberger's box, which would have been the 7. Halterman in the 07, maybe that was just a quick numerical error coming down pit road.
Duncan O'Connor coming to get some more damage repaired on his car. But I think we're getting pretty close to the race restart. Yeah, just a little stop and go for him. But yeah, there you see the field stacked up 2 by 2 once again. Timothy Moore still in the lead with Drew Jawa right behind him, or to his outside, sorry. In row number 1, it's Drew Williams, the 23 machine for Clemson University. In the inside of row 2 to his outside, the 950, excuse me, of Alex Light from Duquesne University. Jared Kaler right behind him. I think he's got a buddy on his outside. I can't quite tell what car that is making up row 3.
I do believe that is the 67 of Nick Budemlik from St. John's University.
Oh, there's somebody we haven't talked about tonight.
Yep, that is indeed the 67 here.
Yep.
We've seen him a couple of times here in the CIL, but he's back for St. John's University Queens, and currently sitting on the outside of row 3 in really good position to make something happen here. A couple of blue cars, but not teammates in row 4 behind him, and Edward Sanchez from Baruch and Austin DeLong for Penn College of Technology.
Once again, the field stacked up 2 by 2. Timothy Moore, your control car, as they come to the Geico restart zone. He's going to hit the throttle, and Barney will throw the green flag to go back racing at Daytona, and the outside line did not get a very good restart.
Yeah, they definitely looked like they either spun the tires, checked up a little bit, whatever is the reasoning for it. They go to the high side, and all of a sudden, everyone stays down low. Those 3 cars are going to be by themselves unless someone jumps out of line. Here comes Drew Williams, Jared Kaler, Edward Sanchez, and the rest of the field. Nobody out there with Moore Jawa and Alex Light. They're holding their own for the moment up front, but boy, is there a big gap behind them. Will they be able to hold off the pressure from the inside line, currently running about 7-8 cars deep?
Yep, and they're going to get some more support behind. I believe that's the I had to correct myself from saying Robbie Vrabel Jr., but that alumni St. Clair College car is Zach DeWale, who got promoted up to being an alumni after this summer season. But the outside line got the help they so desperately needed. A risky move from the leaders to take to that outside line that let Drew Williams and Jared Kaler 5 championships between these two drivers leading that inside line, but it's not going to do much as the outside line, an absolute masterclass in pushing, is going to take 4 cars clear of the inside line, even though the inside had probably twice the number of cars in their ranks. And that is going to solely reassume the lead for Manhattanville College and Timothy Moore with Drew Jawa behind him. What a move from that outside line. Got a huge head of steam coming out of turn 2 down the backstretch, and they were 4 cars clear of that inside line by the time they hit turn 3, Alex.
Yeah, not only were they fully clear, they took everyone they wanted to with them as well, so everyone's still locked up the way they were on that restart. And also making his first appearance in the top 5 tonight, it's Ball State's Muhammad Alif was the 4th car of 4 to make his way up and forward. So now he's sitting in front of the Drew Williams with DeWale and Kaler sitting side by side there in row 6 of the inside line versus row 1 of the outside. Those two cars have had quite their fair share of battles over the past year or so. But right now they are trying to see if they can find a way to get themselves sorted out to make a run toward the leaders here. Because right now, Moore and Jawa absolutely running the show. Alex Light hanging in there in 3rd. Muhammad Alif and Drew Williams rounding out the top 5 as they run right now before everything gets 2 by 2 behind them.
And that bottom line is going to get 5, maybe 6 cars clear of that outside line. As the support up top is starting to fizzle just a little bit, that inside line is going to pull out now 4 cars. That outside line got some pretty good momentum down the backstretch. Pulled it back just a little bit, but not enough to make a run for the lead. The interesting thing about this style of racing, this super speedway bumper-to-bumper pack racing, the inside line has the advantage on distance. The inside is the fastest way to get around the racetrack. It's the shortest distance from point A to point B, from stripe to stripe. But the outside line has a huge advantage down the straightaways because they have almost 2.5 stories of banking to go down, almost like a ramp that slingshots them. And especially if the second car in that outside line can give a really good shove to the leader, as we have a huge crash going into turn 3. And this is the big one. It finally strikes on lap 54 of 100 in the Daytona 250. There are a ton of cars involved in this one. There's the 42, the 21. I think I saw the 07 involved as well. The 700 having some real difficulty getting that thing straightened out. But my goodness, what a crash.
It looked like a yard sale out there in the middle of the corner. There must have been a good 15, 20 cars, half of them just parked on the grass for a second. That must have collected the entire back half of the field, and I'm sure all of those cars are in varying states of damage. Some of those cars may have only gotten away with a little bit of a ding or a scratch here or there, but some of those cars looked like they were really beat up, and it included so many people. We'll have to take a look at the replay to see how it started, but we got to see the aftermath, and boy, was it ugly.
Yeah, that's the big one strikes. I think we were all kind of keeping that at the back of our minds, as well as the drivers on track, of when is the big one going to strike, because it's at these tracks, it's not a matter of if, it's when. And we saw it there on lap 56 of 100 in this event. And I think we might see the leaders come down pit road during this caution to top off on fuel. They're at the point where you're not going to make it to the end, but we are going to see the whole top everybody coming down pit road. So Alex, it's time for pit stops. This can make or break positions for you on track.
Yeah, especially with how many cars are coming in here from the front pack. This is going to be such a critical stop. Making sure not only you hit your box, but you get everything set up the way you need to in the closing stages of this race. We just see how much traffic there is on pit road. You see everyone rushing to get off of pit road in time. Looks like Timothy Moore is going to be able to hold on for the moment. However, Drew Jawa was the big loser in that exchange. He might have lost 2 or 3 positions there, as it looks like Alif, Williams, and Light all jumped him in the standings. And that'll separate potentially the 3 and the 074, and those two cars have been running lockstep for the majority of this event. So this all of a sudden puts the leader into question here on can he get it done without the three directly behind him.
Yeah, you said it best. Those cars have been nose to tail locked bumpers for almost this entire event, and they know how to race with each other. They know how to lead that line. Now that they got separated, what is that going to look like for these leaders? But also, big shout out to that Ball State University pit crew. They got Muhammad Ali back out right behind the. Given that nobody stayed out, that Alif machine is going to take to the side of road number 1 for this restart.
So we have
we do have a replay of the big one.
Yeah, let's take a look at that, please. I mean, we got to see how that started.
So it looks like this all started with a little freight train pileup on the outside line. I think that's Zach DeWale and who is that in the 720? Is that?
It looks like Coastal Carolina, so it might be Jack Ritchie of Coastal Carolina. I mistaked it earlier. It's actually Justin Ritchie for the University of Kentucky, who somehow got through the middle of all of that. But look at the absolute carnage. I mean, there's 61 just nowhere to go.
A Coastal Carolina machine. Thina Leclerc from St. Clair involved as well. The 007, the 700. The 9 of Esteban Munoz from FIU also involved in that incident. I know he was itching to get up to the front to work with his buddy Jared Kaler, as they usually do.
It looked like there was 71 a couple of cars who really just pinballed as well. I mean, Zach Tallman pinballed a lot, Lucas Moody, Brad Daniel. I mean, there was simply nowhere for any of these cars to go. So if you're,
42 of Gary Signal.
Yeah, there's simply too much to comprehend. It's like what is the Tower of Babel? It's like the Tower of Babel when it comes to wrecking here. There's simply too much to comprehend.
Yeah, the big one has struck in the CIL for the first time this season. If you're just now joining us, welcome to the Daytona 250, where we are just shy of 60 laps complete out of 100 in this event. I believe we got some strategy calls. That's the 13 of Matthew Morton from Ohio State University that stayed out. The 34 of Duncan O'Connor as well stayed out from that caution. So they are going to make up row number 1 as they come to the restart. So already some strategy calls being made here, Alex.
Yeah, and there's also some interesting thoughts out there with, to my understanding, the three of them all represent different universities. But Matthew Morton, Tim Moore, and Drew Jawa are all part of the Nexus Esports group when it comes to iRacing. So that might be why they've been so inclined to work with each other to this point. And with Morton now in the picture here, we might see that 13 and 074 get linked up if they can help it. But, you know, they have to find a way to cross lanes here to do it. Pace car peeling off now once again. Matthew Morton and Duncan O'Connor staring down Barney the Flagman. Green flags back in the air. We are racing once again at Daytona.
The unsung hero of iRacing is Barney the Flagman.
We all want to grow up to be Barney.
Oh, I do.
There are three wide going one.
Me too, as we're singing praises to Barney. My goodness, is the third as who was that just got absolutely
34 of Duncan O'Connor just got shuffled to the back immediately. So now you've got, let's see, that's Moore on the outside, Morton on the inside, and Matthew Morton's got a mirror full of Clint Halterman right now.
And right behind him, Muhammad Alif. Behind him, Drew Williams. Some very, very good drivers leading that inside line. We're going to see if the outside line can do anything, as Duncan O'Connor is going to get shuffled back into the outside line, but he lost a ton of positions on that restart. He's in the, I'd call it the danger zone, as we called it in the Ignition pre-race show back there in the low teens, high 20s position-wise. But that Buckeye machine on the low side is going to get dusted by guess who? Moore, Light, and Jawa on that outside line. They have reassumed their spot 1, 2, 3 at the front of the field as we got another incident
again
going down the backstretch, and that's going to be, I believe, our 5th or 6th caution of the evening. Cautions breed cautions right now in the Daytona 250.
Yeah, First 33 laps, nothing. Next 30-some laps, everything.
Chaos.
And that looked like it was another pretty big one there, Zach. There looked to be a number of cars around. Obviously, we'll need a second here to bring up the replay when we get it, but it certainly seemed like there was quite a few cars who will not drive away from that one unscathed.
Yeah, no fast repair available for these drivers either, so if you take lethal damage, something critical that knocks your brake, a toe link, something snaps in the suspension, even if you get aero damage, that's going to cause some significant, major damage to your chances to win the race. With this track being as aero dependent as it is, you want to avoid as much contact as possible with other cars and the wall. Even one slight little dent can ruin the chance you get to go for the lead, and you certainly won't have the ability to lead a line either.
Yeah, this really is becoming a situation where if you're in the middle of the field, the best thing you can do is put your head down and just hope the caution doesn't find you, because there has not been a safe place to be if you've been in that mid-pack a couple laps. But now with the replay available, let's go take a look to see what brought out the caution there on lap 61.
And take a look at that in the replay of that incident now. You can see some tight racing in the middle of the field, right where we called it, in the danger zone. 3 wide, the 804 of Cody Fadenauer gets hung out to dry, and he makes contact with the 006 of Thomas Bailey from Kentucky, turns him straight into the outside wall, and collects a bunch of drivers after that. And I think we're going to see some of these damaged drivers back further on back in the field come back to pit road and get some of that damage fixed.
Yeah, it's another opportunity for a lot of those cars to bring the hammers and hacksaws out, try and get their cars tuned up for some more carnage here at Daytona here with only 60-some laps, or only 30-some laps to go. But yeah, no, this certainly is an interesting predicament for a lot of these cars. So with these cautions, they've had the opportunity to try and patch up their damage when it's not going to cost them laps. But at the same time, each one of these cautions is adding more and more cars to the list of people who need to come down pit road for this exact situation. So it's not necessarily a good thing to find yourself on pit road at the moment, but you're going to at least take your small victories where you can get them on not losing a lap while repairing your damage.
And with Daytona being 2.5 miles long, pace speed's about 70 miles an hour. So these drivers are just doing a nice Sunday afternoon interstate drive. Not very quick in these cars, but if you're on pit road, that 2.5 miles at 70 miles an hour is not a lot of time to get that damage repaired. So you got to come down on pit road, hit your marks to get in your box, get as much damage fixed as you can, and then peel back off of pit road by the time the pace car comes back around, or else you risk going down a lap. Speaking of going a lap down, our free pass recipient was Garrett Vighton in the 42 machine for Arizona State. He has gotten himself back on the lead lap after being involved, not the most recent incident, but the one right before that. And we still have, according to my records, 39 cars on the lead lap. So we've only lost one car in the last about 30-ish laps or so. Like we said before, that means there's still 39 cars that can win this race.
Yeah, and a lot of those cars might have a bit of damage to them at this point, but with so many cars on the lead lap and so many more laps to go, which could potentially cause havoc for those cars up front, it's still far too early to tell who is going to walk away with the Daytona 250 victory. But I tell you right now, there is about 3 cars who are in really, really good shape, as they have been for the majority of this event, and that is Tim Moore, Alex Light, and Drew Jawa. Those 3 have really been up front for the majority of this race. And now they have Matthew Morton in the mix as well in 4th. Looks like Nick Budimlik in 5th, Muhammad Ali 6th. A lot of really strong contenders just behind them, but right now no one's had anything for those front 3.
Those 3 have got this absolutely figured out. They're working together. They've learned how to draft off of each other. They've learned how to push. They've learned how to lead the lines. And it has served them so well as they've led nearly every single lap in this race. I know Timothy Moore is going to have pretty hefty next in the final race classification. But all three of them, kudos to those guys. They've got this figured out. They've been able to stick it to the big names of Muhammad Alif and Jared Kaler and Drew Williams, some of our champions and titans of the series. They've been able to leave it out there out front and lead this race. And they've done so in dominant fashion. But with just under a third of the race left in this Daytona 250 and the championship. The Daytona 250 Championship, a spot on the playoffs, and cold hard cash on the line. We're going to see if they can finish the job because they've got all sorts of talent behind them, rearing, roaring, and ready to go to finish this race out. As the field is stacked up 2 by 2, that pace car is going to make the hard left onto pit road. Timothy Moore in Manhattanville. The controls position. They're going to hit the restart box. Barney's going to wave the green flag, and we are back to racing at Daytona.
Yeah, and like clockwork, those 3 cars will find each other up on that top row. 1, 2, 3, they will go into turn 1. Looks like Matthew Morton's right on the back bumper as well to make it a little 4-car team on the outside. Clint Halterman getting one heck of a shove from Drew Williams down on the inside. Now Morton drops down to the inside. Looks like that's going to put Baruch College's Edward Sanchez in a weird spot here. Here comes Halterman to the inside. Looks like, though, that the trio of Moore, Jawa, and Light are going to be able to block off that inside line for now and reestablish control of this race. Looks like the real battling picks up again in the 4th row between Clint Halterman and Muhammad Alif. UNC Charlotte and Ball State going at it.
I think I saw Edward Sanchez, the middle man, and some 3-wide action. He's going to get hung out to dry. Maybe not so quickly make his way towards the back of that pack against his will. Hopefully he'll find a spot to slot in and get back. But front, little look out of the windshield of our leader. It's a clear track ahead, plenty of clean air for Timothy Moore in Manhattanville College as he's leading that inside line as we got a car that goes spinning to the inside. Another one goes with. I think we're going to stay green, but that is almost a carbon copy of the incident that we saw on about lap 4, 5, or 6. That's Rhett Crane that got sent for a spin. He's going to get the car. He's going to get that thing realigned, and he's going to spin back out onto the track. Maybe it stays green. Come on. And he's going to get that out of harm's way as the caution does come out, maybe for when it tank slapped on him as he tried to get the power down. But it was almost the exact same thing, like I said, that we saw towards the top of the race, where one car gets sent to the inside and takes another one with him.
Yeah, and that was 2 cars who have already seen a little bit of trouble so far this evening. The 6 of Rhett Crane, the 7 of Brandon Schulenberger. Both of those cars have been involved in an earlier spin, so definitely not the situation either one of them wanted to find themselves in when they were already behind the 8 ball a little bit tonight. Definitely a tough break for both of those cars. But you know, when it comes to the fact that there's going to be another restart, it's just going to be another opportunity for anyone not named Tim Moore, Drew Jawa, or Alex Light to see if they can find a way to break up this trio up front. But right now, I don't see how anyone's going to be able to unless someone misses a shift up there.
We're going to take a look at the replay of the incident that brought out the most recent caution on lap 68 of 100. I'm going to ride along with Rhett Crane in that gray Ball State University car. It looks like the 7 of Brandon Schulenberger got a little loose in front of him, but that incident itself got resolved by the time they got down the backstretch. And I believe right about here is where the contact is made. That was actually the 7 of Schulenberger that got sent down first. Yeah, exactly what we saw earlier in the show. Just a little contact gone wrong on the backstretch. A not clear situation. And that sent the Wingate machine spinning down towards the inside wall. And a 6 of Rhett Crane. Looks like he almost had it corrected, but just got a little bit of that grass on the inside. And that brought him to a stop on the racing line, which brought out the caution.
Yeah, definitely a tough situation there. The backstretch has been particularly dangerous today. Not often do we see one of the straightaways of a super speedway be the place that you want to avoid, but right now the backstretch is taking names and is not letting anyone get away from its grasp unchallenged. Still plenty of cars though in the mix here, and I'm taking a quick look through the top 10, top 15 ish or so, and there's a couple of names who have not really been talked about a ton tonight who are now sneaking themselves into the picture, particularly row 5 there, Zach. Colin Kolpa and Thomas Toomey making an appearance for the first time this evening in the top 10. I always feel like that 166 car from Virginia just seems to find his way in toward the front of the pack at the end of these races.
Yeah, I've noticed he's been kind of peeking his way into the top 10, but doesn't stay there for very long. That 166 machine has popped up on the ticker on the left side, but he drops right back out. But it looks like now he'll be able to solidify himself inside the top 10. Um, but yeah, Toomey's a very good race car driver. He runs a part-time series with us in the CIL and has done so for a few seasons now. But when he does race with us, he always puts on a good performance and a good show. Very knowledgeable about the sim, very knowledgeable about the car. A lot to learn just from running around him. He taught me a lot when I ran here back in the when I during my days of running in the CIL. So it's always good to be around him, as well as a lot of these other drivers that are championship material. Running around them teaches you so much, and that's what a lot of our drivers love doing here. They love racing, the sportsmanship, learning and practicing and perfecting racecraft, and also just the fun that we can have on track and the community that we enjoy together.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said for the opportunity to find a community of, sim racers who are also either in college or in the case of a lot of the alumni, recently out of college. It's a pretty tight knit group, but it's always it's ever expanding. Opportunities for new people to jump in really at any point during the year. Obviously, the biggest influx are usually during the summer leading into a new season, but just because the season has already begun doesn't mean you can't jump in and join in for the back part of the season here. But as the lights are off on the pace car, the trio of terror, as I will coin them just for the moment here. I mean, they have just been unstoppable so far. I can't remember the last time I've seen a super speedway race where the same couple of cars just seem to keep finding their way out front. We'll have to see if they're going to be able to once again perfect their restart craft like they have the past couple attempts. But as the pace car begins to peel off down pit road after caution number 6 or 7 here, it'll be an opportunity with around 30 laps to go for these drivers to get it settled in the Daytona 250. There goes the pace car now down to the entrance of pit road. Green flag is back in the air, and we are racing once again at Daytona.
A good jump by the bottom line. As you see, the number 3 is going to tuck right into that inside line, almost like they've had so many times to rehearse that, and some swip swapping coming towards the latter half of that top 10. That was the 22 of Austin DeLong heading to that outside line. And Toomey saying, I'll take that. I'll go to the inside line. But right now, the outside led by the 07 of Clint Halterman, and it's still Jawa and Moore leading that bottom line as they so much tonight. But that outside line is gaining some support. Although a couple of drivers have moved down to that inside line, so we're going to see if they can rally back as they're going to come out of turn 4 for the first time since the last restart.
Yeah, cars swapping positions all across the backstretch, each in and out during the corners. Right now, though, it does look like the inside line is the place to be just for the moment, but there isn't for a lack of support on the outside. I mean, they've probably got about 10 cars or so out there, but that line just got cut in half. There was a situation about midway through where those cars had to split up, and that it basically has killed the momentum of anyone on that outside line and has allowed Tim Moore, Drew Jawa, and Alex Light just to continue to run away on the inside line here. Drew Williams and Thomas Toomey tucked in there in 4th and 5th on that inside line. You don't find another car on the outside for another car or two farther back from the back bumper of Toomey. It looks like Halterman's trying to hold on to the side there of Jake Hall in 6th.
And don't leave out that 98 machine of Jake Hall, from Clemson University. He made the A-Main show race it, so he knows what around these restrictor plate tracks. It is his rookie season, so I know Hall, Toomey, and Williams are Orange Wheel Racing teammates, and Giants going to see if they can work together to try and get to the field. Like Hall has dropped back just a little bit. I think he might still be behind them in that bottom line, but that outside line is going to try and regain some momentum. Maybe a few drivers jumping up to be with them. I see Jared Kaler, Muhammad Alif up there as well with Zach DeWale, and a few other cars kind of bouncing in between the two lines behind them as they're going to come to the start-finish line to start lap 73 of 100, almost 3/4 of the way through this longest race of the season.
Yeah, that outside line ever so carefully starting to crawl their way back up into the picture here. They really lost a ton of momentum early. They're going to have to circumnavigate the lap traffic of Thomas Bailey there in the 006, who goes all the way up to the wall trying to stay out of line there. And you can see the difference in speed between being in the draft versus being a solo car here. It's so critical to stay in the draft where you can, otherwise you're just going to completely lose the field. But right now, Halterman is currently on the back bumper, per se, of Andrew Williams, who's currently running 4th. So that outside line slowly starting to reel the leaders in. I would not say they're in contention to battle for the lead just yet, but they're slowly making some progress up there as now Halterman dives to the inside and the gap between Williams. And now going back to the outside here, maybe just picking up a little extra draft help. He slides in next to the 954. Matthew Morton all over the back bumper of Halterman here through 1 and 2.
Yeah, you got to be really careful if you're Matthew Morton pushing on the back bumper of Halterman. We've seen in the past at these races and even in the NASCAR Cup Series how that can go horribly wrong if you deliver that shot to the bumper even just a millimeter to the left or the right of where you're supposed to. But Morton and Halterman working pretty well together right now, and they've got Muhammad Alif right behind them. So some really strong, powerful cars and good drivers leading this high line. And that gap between the 954 of Alex Light and the 23 of Williams, that didn't come down as much as I thought it would. Usually when there's a gap like that opens up, the car behind gets a pretty hefty head of steam as we're getting some more lap traffic coming through 1 and 2. That's the 057 of Alex Hallinar. I think maybe gets a little touch of the wall right there, but clean for the most part as they get around him. When you get a gap like that opens up, the car behind gets a huge run to the car in front, but I think Williams, maybe with some throttle manipulation, being really smart about how he got about his closing rate, getting up to Light's car up in front of him as to not cause an incident or any major contact. There's a kind of an unspoken rule about Daytona. If you're the first two cars, if the first car you're leading the line, you're going to get pushed by the second car. If you're the second car, your job is to push the first car. If you're the third car, your job is to lay off. Do not push the pusher. Don't put yourself in a position where if the guy behind you hit you, you wouldn't transfer that momentum all the way up to the pushing car in front of you. You make a whole freight train. Chaos can happen out there in front. So a good play by both Light, Williams, and Toomey to mitigate that, but that, as a consequence, has allowed this outside line to stay there on the outside as we have just passed 3/4 of the way through this Daytona 250.
Halterman keeps getting a little bit closer now. He's just past Alex Light. He's now trying to get to the corner of Drew Jawa here. The lead two cars have separated a bit from Light back in third. You know, there's been a lot of consistent support there on that outside line as you see Andrew Williams maybe going up trying to take away something from that outside line. A little bit of side draft action in the corner might hold him up just a little bit. But right now, there is a huge lead pack here, and there is all of a sudden a huge gap between those first three cars and the rest of the field, potentially due to that little bit of side draft action from the 23. It does make you wonder if there's any thoughts going through the head of Drew Williams right now, thinking about sliding up onto that outside line, trying to take away something from Halterman, and then being the one leading the charge against the front three cars right now.
Going to come up on another single car of lap traffic here. Probably by the time they get onto the backstretch. Yes, and oh my goodness, what is this? Wow, did not get out of the way. I don't know who that is.
That is the 43 of Sky Shrek.
43 of Sky Shrek stuck to the bottom until the very last second, and that caused some panic on the leaders. And there's a lot of activity on the mics right now. I don't think the leaders are very happy with that decision by Shrek. Not a lot of communication, but a few cars had to bail out, I think. But Moore, Light, and Jawa are still connected up at the front, and they had to move from the inside line to that outside line. And that absolutely killed the momentum of that inside line, as now the outside's going to go to work, dominant line. And
what I'm shocked about is that the top 3 cars remained the top 3 cars even after that. We saw them scatter in different directions, but they were able to get themselves relined up almost immediately. But it absolutely killed the inside line's momentum. As you see now, Edward Sanchez, the leader of that inside group here, with Drew Williams behind him and Halterman behind them. But they have fallen all the way back to currently Sanchez is running 8th. So that inside line has all but evaporated thanks to a little bit of a pick and roll situation with lap traffic. And, we'll have to see if they're able to work their way back up to it. They're starting to get some more support now on the back of that line. Here comes Edward Sanchez now moving his way forward with Drew Williams all over the back bumper. They are side by side with Matthew Morton, who's 4th on the outside. Now clearing him. They're up to the side of the 3 of Drew Jawa. This might have been a situation where if they were clear, those front 3 cars might try and slip down to the inside line again like they have earlier. Oh, they're wrecking behind! Cars are in the grass behind them. Looks like Halterman might have been one of them.
Caution comes out.
Everything seemed very normal until about 3 laps ago, where everything became not normal.
It was all going so well until it wasn't. Was there not a caution for that? I don't see the yellow flag flying. Oh, wait a minute. Wow. So we correction, we stay green.
Wow. Okay, yeah, fooled me. It certainly looked like it was going to be.
On us.
Yeah, we pulled the trigger a little too quickly on that one. Normally, when you see 3 cars spinning to the infield, that'll do it. But in the terms of iRacing here, if there's no one on the racing surface, they don't elect to throw a caution, and that seems to be the case. So with only 20 laps to go, we stay green. Now 19.
Yep, 19 laps to go there at the line. It is still Timothy Moore from Manhattanville College out front with his friend on track, Alex Light, right behind him, and Drew Jawa from Chattahoochee University. But look who it is. It's Jared Kaler and Robbie Vrabel Jr. from St. Clair College leading that inside line. They've got Drew Williams behind them. But while there's a little lull in the action, we're going to maybe take a look at the replay of what happened there with the 07 of Clinton Halterman. So you see Kaler, Halterman even together on the outside. There's Matthew Morton in the 13 from Ohio State behind him, the 12 of Muhammad Alif. And this might just be a push gone wrong, I think, as it looks like Kaler tried to make it 3 wide. His teammate, I don't think, realized he was there 3 wide with Muhammad Alif. And that actually caught up both of those drivers in that incident. So 2 very, very good drivers caught up in that incident. And again, like you said, Alex, they're sideways and they're slow, but they're off the racing line. They're all the way at the grass in the infield.
Alex Light's going for the lead.
iRacing ruled not to throw a caution there. But now Alex Light has bailed on his 2 on-track buddies, the guys he's been working with. We're inside 20 to go, less than 50 miles left in this 250-mile race, and it is now gloves off between these drivers. I'm not sure that they have enough fuel to make it to the end. They've probably got about 10 laps left. The leader's last pitted on lap 50, and Light goes for a spin.
Oh, no. He looks like he may have kept it forward. Are we still saying
green?
Oh, no, there's no way. There's no way.
And now there's a caution.
Yeah, I'm about to say, there was someone stopped in the middle of the track. Everyone's got to scramble. Yeah, that one was much like the other one, rightfully a caution, but iRacing finally pulls the trigger on it this time, about 3 laps. We'll just say that was a delayed caution that was 3 laps in progress.
Yeah. And I think we are already seeing the gloves out. The gloves are off. It is all bets off as well for these drivers. They are inside the last, now going to be less than 15 laps to go the next time they take a green flag lap. Daytona 250 title on the line. These drivers are going to do everything they can to try and get up to the front, to make a run for the lead on the last lap. Like you said, Alex, during the Ignite pre-race show, every single race we've had here at Daytona, there has been a pass for the lead on the last lap, and that's kind of just the way this track works. So in the meantime, while they settle out the race order, we're going to take a look at the replay and see what happened. I believe that was... I'm going to check my sheet here. That was the 954 of Alex Light from Duquesne who got turned. One of those three cars. Yeah, so looking out off the back bumper right here, there's Edward Sanchez from Barrett College right behind him. And I think we may see a push gone wrong incident. Another one of those tonight. And yeah, looks like maybe a clear, not clear. Sanchez made a move to the outside, but Light was not clear. You see the one.
What's shocking
the 67
to
of
me,
Badimlik stopped on track, and I think that's what brought out the caution.
Yeah, the initial contact was between Sanchez and Light, and it looks like both of those cars were able to keep it moving forward. It was the collateral of everybody else that ended up bringing up the caution. So it looks like the two cars that were initially involved, I think, get away with absolutely dodging a bullet there. Because it looked like there was another 4 or 5 cars who were not nearly so lucky when it was not even any of them who were involved in the initial contact.
And that might be a taste of the kind of aggression that we're going to see when this race goes back to green. Like I said, with everything on the line, these drivers are not going to hold anything back going for the lead for a shot to win the Daytona 250.
Well, yeah, with Alex Light gone, the trio has now shrunk down to a duo here of Tim Moore and Drew Jawa. So certainly a situation where they still have worked really well together tonight. But with one less car, in that line that you can definitely rely on, who knows if someone's going to have a run for him now. We could see Matthew Morton stay with him as well. I think he might be inclined to help those guys out as well, up into a point. I mean, at the end of the day, coming to the final lap, I'm sure all bets are going to be off. But at least in the interim, there might be some more cooperation there. But a lot of cars who are still hoping that they might be able to find their way up front, whether it's by making a couple of passes or by a divine miracle if you're running back in 30th at this point, and could maybe find yourself in position to win here. But I have a feeling we're about to see a lot of really, not dare I say questionable, but very aggressive decisions from cars in the back of the field trying to do anything to get up toward the front pack here as time is running out in the Daytona 250.
Yeah, and with this caution, Rhett Crane is going to be able to get himself back on the lead lap. He is the recipient of the lucky dog. And after all the incidents that we've had over the last 50 laps or so, we still have 31 cars on the lead lap. 31 cars can still win this race, Alex.
Which is just an insane thought to me. I mean, we've had plenty of cautions. There's been plenty of carnage, but there's also been a lot of really competitive racing so far here, and have over 30 cars still in a good position here to potentially take it home. It says a lot about how this race has unfolded to this point. And I have a feeling that, while that number is over 30 at the moment, by the time we hit the checkered flag, it's going to be a little bit less than that if the way Daytona typically plays out does here tonight.
And given that nobody came down pit road, I think these drivers have gotten the all clear to say they can make it to the end of the race.
And that is,
if they were short, they would have come down pit road.
Yeah, that is certainly a critical situation for everyone up front. That was a thing that they were keeping an eye on, but with all the cautions meaning they can make it to the end, all bets are going to be off on the moves that are going to be made here, because no one has to worry about finding their way down pit road. So it just opens up everybody to be like, all right, this is it. Let's go for it and see what happens.
Field's going to get stacked up 2 by 2 again after our 8th caution of the night, and I don't think it'll be our last one. There is probably at least one more incident in the bag as the drivers are going to near the end of this Daytona 250. When they restart, they're going to have 12 laps separating them and a chance at a Daytona 250 championship, a spot in the playoffs, as well as some cold, hard cash and a big points haul for all the championships that these drivers compete in this season. But once again, it is going to be Timothy Moore, the control car for Manhattanville College, to his outside the number 3 of Drew Jawa. And they are once again going to try and do the thing as the pace car makes the hard left to pit road. The drivers hit the gas, and we are back to racing at Daytona.
Yeah, great jump out to the front there from Moore. He'll slide up in front of Jawa there on the outside with Sanchez behind them. Meanwhile, it is Kaler and Vrabel pushing Matthew Morton on the inside. They've got a couple more cars of help as well with Hyder and Williams. 5 cars currently on the inside, about 8 or 9 on that outside. However, the inside line is making a charge to the front here. Here comes Matthew Morton. They were alongside Jawa for a second. Now it is going to be Moore and Jawa sliding down to the bottom, expertly closing off that charge from Morton and company. Now it is 4 cars to the front. Morton thought about sliding up. Now Vrabel does for just a moment. He's got Kaler with him. Can Robbie Vrabel make the move to the outside here? He's now battling with Morton and is going to leave this 2-car tandem out way ahead of the rest of the field. Now to the inside, it's Matthew Morton once again. He's trying to clear Robbie Vrabel on the outside. Both of those guys have plenty of help behind them, but the cars to beat right now, Tim Moore and Drew Drawa, they have checked out from the rest of the inside line. At some point, you got to wonder if the draft is going to catch up to them. Now Vrabel and Kaler diving to the inside here. The 075 of Robbie Vrabel Jr. making his charge to the front. He doesn't have as much help on the low side with Kaler a little far separated. Still trying to see if there's any way to make that passing attempt work. Now they fall back just a little bit farther. They got really wiggly coming off of 4. However, Moore's still going to hold on to it with 11 laps to go.
11 laps left in the Daytona 250 and really sketchy on the bottom lane for a little bit. But there's the 34 of O'Connor making his move down to the inside. We have seen him involved in incidents all night long. We've seen him with a really bad luck, and it is amazing how he has worked his way back inside the top 5, but he does have damage, and I think the bottom lane is going to suffer because of that. But they're going to get some help now from Robbie Vrabel Jr. That's Zach DeWale, who jumps down to the bottom lane for St. Clair College. Now that the damaged car is going to draft, that's going to give them a little more of a aerodynamic advantage, but the top lane is still driving away with the race. At the moment, it is still Manhattanville College and Timothy Moore up front with the number 3 of Drew Jawa, Chattahoochee Tech behind him. And now the 26 of Edward Sanchez is going to look to the bottom, and we have a caution. And that's the 7 of, no.
Yeah, that was the 7 of Schulenberger. Looks like Matthew Burton in the 33 was potentially involved. A handful of other cars too. That was
right up at the front.
But that was getting toward the front of the field there. We didn't have to cut too far back to see what happened. But yeah, that's going to make this a really interesting situation on the restart. Because all of a sudden, I mean, Edward Sanchez was going for the lead right at the time of that caution, and now Moore and Jawa will be 1-2, but a whole different host of characters than we're used to seeing will be on the outs or will be in the rows to follow. But in the meantime, we'll have to wait and see what happened on that replay, because it certainly looked like quite a few cars may have collected some damage in that one here. And when they finally get racing again there, Zach, it'll be very close to the end of this race.
Yeah, I believe they're going to restart the race on lap 95 of 100. Now, we do have one CIL overtime attempt at the end of the race. So for those of you who don't know or are new to the CIL, our race can go up to 2 laps past the scheduled distance. So if we have a caution that would extend the race, or that would, if we have, or let me rephrase that. If we have a caution to where the race would end under yellow, we will instead have a green-white checkered finish. So the field will take the green flag for 2 to go. And then the next flag, if at any point a caution happens beyond that green flag, the race is over. The drivers will then take, if it's clean, then the drivers will take the white flag and then the checkered flag to get 2 good, clean green flag laps of racing in. But like I said, if a caution comes out during overtime, then the race is over, the field is frozen, and they'll be good to go. But we are going to take a quick look at the replay of this incident that happened up towards the front of the field that involved some pretty heavy hitters. And it was actually the 2 St. Clair teammates that tangled, Robbie Vrabel Jr. and Zach DeWale. DeWale got sent spinning, tumbling down the inside, and that stacked up all behind them. So maybe some exchange of words between the teammates there on the private radios. But we're going to try to take one more look at that to see what happened behind those drivers.
Yeah, certainly a tough break there. It looked like a lot of cars were getting a little squirrely through the tri-oval, and then ultimately the casualties were Zach DeWale and Robbie Vrabel. I have an opportunity here to take a second look at it if we get a second. So an opportunity here, and you see they're 3 wide through the tri-oval, never a great place to be, and it all starts with just things getting a little tight between, looks like the 027, the 13, the 075, and the 521, all kind of getting a little up in each other's business, and then from there it just catapults behind. All sorts of cars involved, the 67, the 33, the 88, 94. I mean, there's just so many people involved.
23, the 199 as well. Edwin Onofre, Drew Williams, some very, very good cars caught up in that incident with so little time left in the race. You've got to think that probably ended the Daytona 250 championship hopes of a lot of drivers there. But some of the drivers who were able to make their way through the incident are probably thinking, man, I'm glad I survived that. But the second big one has struck at Daytona, and we are now inside 10 laps to go, separating these drivers from a Daytona 250 championship and a shot in the College Cup Series playoffs this season.
So the situation here might be that the session actually may have just expired on time.
I don't have checkered flags on mine. Oh,
well,
the checkered is out. Wait a minute.
Looks like it. I believe the timer for the session actually has expired because of this.
Wow.
I think they allotted an hour and 40 minutes to get this race, or maybe an hour 45 to get this done. Does not seem to be the case, so I guess congratulations to Timothy Moore. Yeah. Manhattanville College and Timothy Moore is going to hold on for the victory here in the Daytona 250. Drew Jawa and Edward Sanchez are going to round out the podium, and a situation that I don't think any of us would have accounted for at the start of today's race.
No.
Maybe there's some rain showers out in turn 3 and 4 or something there, Zach.
Yeah, so when we may have to get the Cup to explain this because I'm not 100% the rules on this. But when the session is made, iRacing gives it a timer, and if the race is not over with by the time that time limit expires, then iRacing throws the checkered flag, and I think we've just had so many cautions that time ran out. And ultimately, Timothy Moore stayed out in front at the time where the limit expired, and he is going to be your Daytona 250 champ.
Well, congratulations to him and to Manhattanville College. I mean, they drove a textbook race, such a great job from start to finish, but I'm sure there's a lot of drivers bummed that they won't be able to get that green-white checkered opportunity to try and pick up the victory here today. But certainly a certainly a great win there for Tim Moore and for Manhattanville College. I mean, just showed up and was definitely the class of the field here today at Daytona.
And it's absolutely not an undeserved win by any means. If there was any driver that I think really deserves this win, it's Timothy Moore. He led a ton of laps out there this afternoon and tonight. So I think if there's anybody who does deserve this win, it's that 074 machine from Manhattanville College. He worked together with his buddies out there on track to dominate the Daytona 250, and he's going to go ahead and drive it into victory lane after doing a celebratory burnouts. And I think victory lane got closed.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, you can't,
They
can't
might
go
not
over there,
let him in
buddy.
now, but I'm sure he'll be able to celebrate in all due time. But certainly a situation where definitely not the way they drew it up, but they're definitely going to take it. And now, as everyone's going to be getting out of the car, I guess it'll be an opportunity to start talking to our podium finishers here in just a moment.
Yeah, he led 78 of the 93 laps tonight. And in fact, let's go ahead and call him in. Timothy J. Moore from Manhattanville College in your CIL debut race. You are the Daytona 250 champ. Congratulations, man. That is incredible accomplishment.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know where to begin. I mean, this is a huge accomplishment. What a big race! It was a lot of fun. I felt like we led a lot of laps today. We did what we had to do to obviously get the victory. But man, I mean, I wish a little bit. Obviously, the timer unfortunately didn't run out. Just you can't really predict, obviously, with cautions and with how things worked out. But man, I'm just so happy to be in victory lane and really put a full race together that we needed. Drew did an excellent job pushing behind me, and I feel bad for Alex. I know you ended up getting the EOL after that wreck there. I didn't quite see what happened, but we were pretty much locked up 3 cars, up in front throughout the race, and we did an excellent job controlling the lanes when we needed to, and that's what helped us get the victory lane here tonight.
Yeah, that was certainly on display. I mean, that was quite the force up front. Congratulations on your victory. But also, I want to ask you, it definitely came across on through the booth here that it seemed like you and the 3 were kind of hooked up nose to tail intentionally for most of that race. Was there any concerns if that was going to go to a green-white checkered, if he was going to try and jump out on you, or if that was kind of the plan to just kind of stay lockstep as much as you could?
Well, as I like to say, Drew and I know there's a little issue on the broadcast in terms of schemes, but Drew and I are Nexus Esports teammates, so I had a lot of faith with him being my bumper. In terms of concerns, I think, yeah, if out of turn 4, him racing for a win, big picture, just because we're teammates doesn't mean we're not racing for a victory here. I felt like he was going to make a move and do whatever he had to do, but it was about protecting our track position. And again, I can't thank him enough. Drew is, since this car's kind of changed a little bit, with the pushing, it used to be the opposite way around. I used to be the pusher. Now he's really become that, and I have to just give him a lot of credit. He's the big reason why when we came to the time limit here, obviously I'm in victory lane, and him and I were in a chat together. He's pretty much, I don't want to say playing spotter at the same exact time as racing, but he's calling, hey, whoa, 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 hi, let's go, let's break momentum here, coaching me through it. That's what a real teammate is, trying to work together and understanding each other as a dynamic. And that's the reason why, again, he's one of my best friends. The kid works his tail off, and I'm just so proud that we were able to put the 1-2 together.
Well, Timothy, congratulations on a debut win in your Daytona 250 champion. A couple of other things that you've won. You won class as well, so you've got a huge amount of points going towards your alumni total. You got a nice cash payout coming your way as well. And you are locked into the fall 2023 College Cup Series playoffs. What does that mean to you right now, this very first race in the CIL?
I think it's important to get that first win out of the way in regards to, securing playoff berth, because at the end of the day, yeah, I think I have to finish top 20 in points. Correct me if I'm wrong. But
that is correct,
overall, it kind of takes that pressure off of, we can think, points moving forward or certain ways and strategies. I personally consider myself a super speedway, not expert, but this is one of my stronger tracks that I look at when I come to and say, hey, we have a good chance of winning here. I look at Auto Club next week. I think that's another very good track for me. But, I think it just kind of takes that pressure off saying, hey, I can afford to sit here, and try to think big picture a little more, maybe try to defend a regular season title or look other ways. But I always emphasize the first race of the season. Even if I don't win it, it's about getting off to a good start because that's how you build momentum building towards a championship. And one thing I preach honestly is just, consistency. I want to be as consistent this season as much as I physically can. And if I can do that, I can put together a championship season. So the fact that I was able to, get the win here to me just takes, I don't want to say all the pressure off my shoulders because there's obviously a long way to go, but it makes me, be a little bit more level headed as the season goes on, that, there's going to be no desperation or aggressive moves. And I don't mean by wrecking anybody, but, aggressive strategy call, to want to get track position if it means getting points or racing for a win.
Well, Timothy, congratulations, man. What a debut race for you. While we've got you here in the booth on the anybody you thank.
I apologize. You cut out a little bit, but I believe you were asking about thanks. Again, I want to thank Nexus Esports. Hudson's done a very good job with the group. Everybody that's running Road to Pro Round 2, he's had a lot of faith with me. I know as well we had a teammate, Matthew Morton, as well in this field. And I'm very, very thankful. Again, I want to thank Drew. He was on my tail there from pretty much start to finish throughout this race, and he did an excellent job keeping us up in front. And Alex Light as well for being around there, throughout the race and putting us in a good spot there to win. And I want to thank you guys in the booth. This for me, as you mentioned, is my first race. To be honest with you, I didn't even know I was going to be racing a race about an hour before because there was a little bit of a not an issue, but things just worked out. I wasn't eligible, and then I was eligible based on the timing of things. But overall, again, I'm just real happy to be here, and I'm real thankful, that we're getting something for college students or graduates. This is the only league that I can think of, and actually really is, outside of course the iRacing College Series, where you can showcase these youthful talents. And to me, of course, I graduated from Manhattanville in 2020, but I wish I had an opportunity in a platform like this when I was younger, to showcase my school and represent my colors. So I think what you guys are doing is great, and I really appreciate that. You give every single one of us an opportunity every single week to come out here and represent our schools.
Well, thank you for your praises and thanks. We're glad we could put on a great race for you, and you put on a great show for all of us. So congratulations on a great finish tonight, on your win, and we will see you in the playoffs.
Dude, thank you so much.
And that was our Daytona 250 champ and first driver locked in the College Cup Series playoffs from Manhattanville College, Timothy Moore.
Yeah, I mean, he sounded super excited. He put on such a great show today, and I mean, he really was the car to beat out there, and no one was able to get it done. So, congrats to Tim Moore on the victory. Congrats to Manhattanville College. Zach, what do you say we move right along here and bring on his Nexus Esport teammate, but the driver from Chattahoochee Technical?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go ahead and do that. Drew Jaywall, you got a copy, man?
Yes, sir.
Have I been pronouncing your last name wrong, right?
So the pronunciation is Jawa. Honestly,
Jawa.
if you pronounce it wrong, it's no big deal. There's like 3 or 4 different ways you can pronounce it. It doesn't bother me.
Well, Drew Jawa, congratulations. In your CIL debut, you finished runner-up in the Daytona 250, the biggest race of the season. You got a nice cash payout coming your way, and you made a statement to everybody else in the field that you're to play. Congratulations. What's going through your mind right now?
Oh, yeah, it was a great race. I mean, me, Tim, and Alex Light, we were, I would say, the class of the field, and we were 1, 2, 3 basically the whole race. And, I was pretty content just pushing Timmy there throughout the whole race. And unfortunately, the time limit came to play, and I was just going to try and hope here at the end that we would go green to the end, and I would, have the knowledge of when I could make a move on him and not really screw both of us. But they ended up wrecking behind us, and I didn't really get a chance to make that move like I wanted. So at the end of the day, we're first, I believe, in the students' points because there's,
that would be correct.
I can't
Absolutely.
say it, but yeah. Like you said, I assume, we're teammates, Nexus teammates, along with Matthew Morton, and it was just about taking care of each other and putting each other in the best position to win there. And I was literally coaching him through where to go there as we got out to a pretty decent gap there and we were able to hold it. So all in all, a super, super fun race. Unfortunately, we weren't able to make the move for the win, but can never really complain about second, the cash prize.
Yeah, so I want to ask you a little bit about that as well. Congrats on the podium finish, but let's say that caution doesn't come into play. Let's say the timer doesn't come into play, and it comes down to the final lap here while things are going green. What would have been the attempted move to go for the win?
How I see it, these plate tracks, you can really go and make a move at really any time. It's just the side draft on that right rear is so strong. I probably would have locked onto him as long as I could have before the tri-oval. And if he left that right rear or left rear open, I was going to, take advantage of that. And probably anywhere from pit lane to the tri-oval is where I would have made it. You can make it pretty late, especially at the side draft, like I said. So I wasn't going to plan to move anytime before that. I was really just hoping that we were going to get the yellow there. And like I said, unfortunately, we got it. It would have been fun to see it play out, especially with Alex Light, and I know he got involved in a wreck, the yellow before the final yellow. So, but at the end of the day, we'll take a P2, and we show that we're in contention for this championship and a force to be reckoned with for the next plate race. That's for sure.
Well, Drew, one more question. You've mentioned your teammates in Nexus Esports. You worked together pretty well, dominated in spectacular fashion. What does this burst of momentum look like going for you for the rest of the season, going up against some of the other technical alliances racing?
Yeah, so I'm interested to see how these mile and a halves and other tracks come on, because I know the next week we go to Auto Club, California. Yep. And it's going to be interesting to see. I know we got a little bit of a gap to the cut, and my goal right now is to just have these consistent runs. Maybe we'll steal a win or two as we go, but just finish well and stay above the cut line, and at the end of the day, try to make the playoffs. So that's the goal right now. It would have been nice to win here at Daytona, but like I said, we'll take a P2.
Well, we're going to let you go celebrate with your teammates. A great run in your CIL debut. Is there anything you'd like to thank before I send you off?
Yeah, shout out to you guys on the broadcast booth. Shout out to all the staff members for putting this on and for letting me race. And then shout out to Nexus Esports for all they do. And then shout out to the three people I worked with, with Matthew, Timmy, and Alex Light. So we'll be back for Auto Club, and maybe we'll finish second or first that race.
All right, congratulations on a great debut race, and we will hopefully see you back in here in the booth sometime later on in the season.
Yep, thank you.
That was Drew Jawa, your runner-up finisher in tonight's Daytona 250, taking home a cap. You heard him attribute his found success to his teammates, his Nexus teammates.
Yeah, I mean, the two of them worked really well together, and it was clear that they were the ones to beat tonight. I find it interesting that both of them mentioned that a lot of the shot calling was coming from the three there on the second car in line, and he was getting everyone tuned up, and it helped lead Tim Moore to the victory and himself to a second-place finish here. But that does bring us to our third and final member of the podium, who now I believe is on a 4-race podium streak, counting the last three races from the summer season. It's Baruch College's Edward Sanchez. Hey, man, congrats.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you so much. Yeah, I finally broke my 4th-place curse, man. I'm finally in top 3. So proud to put Baruch College on the map in top 3 here at CIL for my first full season opener. Oh, that was awesome.
Yeah, congratulations on an incredible next-gen debut here in the CIL. You ran a lot of the Gen 4 college, and now you're here running the big show in the next gens. We saw you had an up-and-down night. You were outside of the top 10, and then you were challenging for the kind of disappeared, but ultimately you've ended up ready to challenge for the win and brought it home third. You got a big cash prize coming your way as well. So kind of take us through your strategy throughout this race.
So I mean, first I got to shout out to my teammates, Brandon, Garrett, and Jake Cummings. Like we were planning on really staying together. If you saw Wingate University up there, and that's like we were on the outside. But yeah, no, the strategy was to really stick together. I knew outside lane would be a really strong fortitude up there. Like as you saw Drew and Jared up there. Like sorry, Drew and oh, hold on, I totally forgot who just won. Timothy and Drew up there. It showed at the end that the outside prevailed, but clearly I was trying to stick with my teammates and we had the ball rolling, but we had a lot of hiccups and a lot of teammate casualties. So but it was really tough. Yeah, like you said, at one point I was up there in the front challenging for the lead. And then I believe with the third to last restart, I was in the inside on ninth, and I got pushed into the middle lane, and I fell back all the way to 20th. And I mean, it was really tough. I was trying to stay on the outside because I saw that the momentum was coming back in, and slowly but surely. But I mean, it can't be said without controversy. Obviously, you saw I got tangled up with a couple of drivers throughout that whole run.
Yeah, I mean there was plenty of battling throughout the field, and I have a question for you similar to the question I asked Drew a couple minutes ago. What was running through your head if that was able to go green to the end, or if there was a green-white checkered and it didn't end via timer? What were you thinking in your head was gonna try? What were you gonna try to separate Drew and Tim, or find your way around the both of them? What was the plan for the closing laps?
I I was thinking about that, and I feel like there was no way. In my opinion, I feel like the 74 and the 3 they were locked really good. They were covering the outside, inside, wherever they needed to be. The only way, probably, if let's say that wasn't timed out, was the 22 of Austin. I believe he was getting ready to make a run on the inside, and I was close to really going on race on the radio and say, "Hey, man, let's go on the inside. We'll take away a lot of their a lot of their speed. If they lose two cars pushing them from behind." That causes a gap and they'll probably lose on the outside speed. I think that was the only way. It had to be working with others because you saw what happened to Zachary. He went on the inside out of turn 4, and he got turned outside of the trioval. But he was just all alone, right? He made a good run, but I feel like if I was in the third place car, so I was feeling pretty confident there. Um, and my second thought was really like I was hoping. I mean, if the 3 pushed the 74 really too hard on the outside, he probably would have spun him or something. So I really was hoping that something could happen that would open the C for me. But all I did was stay put, was able to hit my marks and secure that third place.
Well, Edward, you've proven yourself to be a contender this summer in the Gen 4. Now you've got a nice burst of momentum going into the next Gen season here in the fall. How do you think you're going to be able to take that momentum and mount a run potentially towards the playoffs this season?
Man, I was really hoping to get this win because halfway through the race, I realized, wait, if you get a win, you move on to the playoffs. Well, you also have to participate in majority of races. So I it's a big gain in confidence. Definitely getting that third place was it felt pretty good. I mean, you saw in the Gen 4 series, I've had this curse of never getting in the top 3. I was in it at the last few laps, and something always happened, late caution or me being in a caution. So I think that for moving forward, it's a real boost of confidence. But however, I do got to look out for for a lot of drivers out there who's probably not happy with me, and I rightfully understand. So just gonna have to look out for a couple of those competitors, but definitely gonna try and make amends because I'm not one to really like to have beef, and I always like to talk it out, because yeah, I think that it's always good to be on good terms with everybody here in the garage. But oh man, I'm so happy, man. It's third place. You don't understand. The moment when the caution came out, once it timed out, I was like, oh please. It was like as if real life NASCAR. Please let it rain. Let it pour. Let them put out the red flag. just like in Atlanta, just put it out, just put it out. And once the race director said 2-minute warning, and we were still like we're still pacing, not even 2 to green. I was like, oh please! And all the rest of the guys in the call were saying, man, Edward, I think you got it. And yeah, man, I'm just so happy. Yeah, so happy to bring this Baruch Chevrolet Camaro Z1 into top 3 for the first time in its first race. Yeah.
Well, congratulations on such a great debut race. We're excited to see the season. Before we let you go celebrate with your buddies,
your mic cut out there a little bit, Zach, but he's just
Oh,
letting,
yeah.
letting you know, Edward,
Aw,
if
man.
you want to shout anybody out, feel
Oh.
free. This is the time to do so.
So time to do so. Well, I mean, I already shouted out my teammates, Brandon, Jake, Garrett. Y'all are amazing. I mean, mostly a lot of things they were really pushing and supporting me towards the end, so I appreciate it a lot. To my family at Baruch College, my older brother Matthew Sanchez, and I also saw Jose in my live stream. Both of y'all from their Baruch students and a Baruch alumni, respectively. And I know a bunch of people from my cross country team are also supporting me, and a bunch of my friends at Baruch College. So I love you all. Thanks you to my mom and my dad. They were watching me on the TV. They were screaming. They were like, "Oh man, did you win or did you not win?" And also to my family at Tabula Rasa Esports, Trey. They are also a great family I found here on iRacing. They also pushed me in towards this race. So yeah, thank you to everyone, and thank you all for this amazing broadcast, for this awesome quality that you guys bring to us to be able to push us into the spotlight, us as college drivers. And y'all are amazing. And thank you all to the viewers watching this race. I hope it was a fun one.
it was fun indeed, and thanks for joining us up here in the booth. Congratulations, man. Hopefully we'll see you back here soon.
Thank you. You too.
Well, you can hear the emotion that comes with a third-place finish in your debut at the biggest race in the CIL season, and Edward Sanchez and Barrett College. A big night for really all of our top 3 finishers. They're all rookies.
Yeah, at least all for the next gen cars here, and a couple of them making their CIL debut, and then for Edward at least making his next gen CIL debut. So, plenty of new faces on the podium, plenty of new faces throughout the field, really, and they all put on quite the show tonight. Overall, I think it was quite a banger start to the season there, Zach. I thought we had quite the opportunity to see a lot of people put a lot of talent on display. And we saw a lot of people make their way up, a few people make their way back the wrong way in the field. But ultimately, it was Tim Moore, Drew Jawa, and Edward Sanchez who were our top 3 tonight. But there was still another 40 cars in the field beyond them. So let's take a look now at our final results here from Daytona. Zach, do you want to take it away here when they pop up?
Let's do it. Your winner for tonight, Tim Moore in Manhattanville College, your Daytona 250 champions, and the first driver to secure a spot in the fall 2023 College Cup Series playoffs. Drew Jawa for Chattahoochee Tech finishes runner-up, and the last car on the podium, Edward Sanchez for Barrett College. P4 goes to Austin DeLong from the Penn College of Technology. He had a very, very strong, consistent day up front. Colin Culpa, your alumni champion, starts his title defense campaign strong for Indiana University with a 5th place finish. Bradley Daniels for Robert Morris University. The Cal car has made its return to the CIL. Thank you, Lord. It's the best paint scheme out there. He'll bring it home 6th for RMU. Matthew Morton, the ringer in the eNASCAR CIS series. He will finish 7th for Ohio State University. Jared Kaler, the defending champion, will finish 8th for UNC Charlotte. Jonathan Deerkop in his CIL debut for UCF brings it home 9th. And rounding out the top 10, Robbie Vrabel Jr. for St. Clair College.
Yeah, and 11th, it's Duncan O'Connor from Nova Scotia Community College. Michael Sidor for PCT in 12th. Edwin and Ofray will bring it home 13th for the University of North Texas. 14th is R. Muhammad Ali from Ball State University. And 15th is Virginia Commonwealth's Cody Fadenhauer. 16th is Nicholas Budemlik from St. John's University. Andrew Stagey from Ball State in 17th. Alexander Hyder is in 18th here for St. John's River State College. Brandon Schulenberger's turbulent night winds him 19th for Wingate University, and rounding out the top 20, it is Zach DeWale from St. Clair College.
Looking towards the back half of our results, Andrew Williams, after almost leading for so much of that race, caught up in that last incident. He will finish 21st for Clemson University. Across the state of South Carolina, Jack Ritchie for Coastal Carolina University finished 22nd, and back over to Clemson, 23rd for Nick Stockner. Lucas Moody finishes 24th for Ball State University. Zach Tallman makes his debut, finishes 25th for the Penn College of Technology. FIU's Esteban Munoz, a regular here series, finishes 26th. Clint Halterman from UNC Charlotte will finish 27th. P28 goes to Major Monsivas from Texas A&M International. Ball State University's Rhett Crane will finish 29th. And Garrett Vighton for Arizona State University, the Sun Devils, will finish P30.
Yeah, 31st is Justin Ritchie for the University of Kentucky. 32nd is Jake Cummings from Wingate University. East Tennessee State University's Matthew Burton brings it home 33rd. Thomas Bailey from Kentucky will bring it home 34th. Duquesne University's Alexander Light had a lot of time up front tonight, but he will have to settle for a 35th place finish here tonight. Binghamton University's Alex Hallinar 36th. Thomas Toomey in 37th for the University of Virginia. Jake Hall from Clemson University is 38th. St. Clair College's Athena LeClaire will bring it home 39th. 40th is Mario Miranda from the University of Oklahoma. 41st is Sky Schreck from the University of Oklahoma. And rounding out the cars who made the field tonight, Connor Levy from Arizona State in 42nd, and Carmine Caruso from St. John's University in 43rd.
Well, it was a night of chaos in the first and most prestigious race of the season, but Tim Moore and Manhattanville stood out amidst the rest to secure the CIL Daytona 250 championship. And on top of that, they'll walk away with some cold hard cash and a spot in the fall 2023 College Cup Series playoffs. But Moore wasn't the only driver to impress tonight, as we saw a lot of our College Cup regulars vying for the lead and the win, as well as a ton of newcomers to the league. In fact, our podium were all rookies. If what we saw tonight holds for the rest of the season, we are in for the best College Cup Series season yet. More drivers, more schools, more intense action, and higher stakes than ever before. If you're a returning fan, welcome back to the CIL. If you're a new fan, we hope, in fact, we know you loved for your school or alma mater, or even a friend. And we'll certainly see you next time. And speaking of next time, the College Cup Series season continues next Monday night, September 11th, with our Never Forget 200 from All Speedway. The Ignition pre-race show will start at 8:30 Eastern Time, and race coverage begins at 9. And if you can't wait for more CIL action, the edition of the Formula College Championship is lights out and away we go for the time on Wednesday at 8:45 Eastern with our West Coast Grand Prix from WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. So be sure to tune in to our extremely popular FIA Formula 4 series. And with that, I believe that is going to wrap us up for the night. Welcome back, everyone. The CIL is back, and I think I speak for the entire broadcasting team when I say it is so awesome to be back. And we are all ready to see what this season has in store in both of our series. So congratulations to all of our podium finishers and tonight's Daytona 250 champ, Manhattanville College's own Timothy Moore. And on behalf of myself, co-commentator Alex, and producers Christian, John, and Keith, we'd like to thank you all for tuning in to tonight's production of the Daytona 250. And until next time, stay fast.